It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, broadcasting live from Chicago, the Democrat National Convention. An absolutely wild day yesterday. We have so much to cover. First of all, I spent a good portion of yesterday's day looking for a protest, driving around on little scooters. I probably spent an hour and a half, 2 hours on a little like electric bicycle around the city of Chicago, trying to find it, because the day before on Monday, Billy, went down 5,000 people, the police estimated, at Union Park. Everything's organized. They got a big stage. They then marched. I figured, well, those people are probably getting together again the following day.
Yeah, why not?
Right? They didn't just come in for day one of the DNC and leave. They don't have jobs. What else are they going to do? So I drive around all day looking for them. And I talked to a Chicago police officer. I'm like, where are the protests? He goes, dude, we don't know. And that should concern you.
Oh, wow.
And he was serious. I talked to probably 3 or 4 other police, all said the same things. And these guys, I mean, there were hundreds of police officers everywhere in Chicago, and not one single protester.
That's
not
weird.
one. So it was eerily silent, like wildly quiet there. So I'm like, you know where there's going to be protesters? Trump Tower. So I get on my little electric scooter, go all the way back. I got cameras, GoPros, audio, all this stuff. I'm going to go all the way back up to Trump Tower, make the little 30-minute electric scooter ride all the way up to Trump Tower. Not one.
Wow. That's
not
interesting.
One. So I end up going, all right, well, I guess tonight's not the night. Barry Obama speaking. You got Michelle out there. Maybe they're in good spirits. They don't want to break things. Maybe they're sitting around watching with their friends. So I head back to where I'm staying and start to do the live broadcast, all that stuff. And then my phone starts to blow up from listeners.
Oh.
Isn't this cool? They start to message me and they're like, you got to check Fox. It's blowing up down at the Israeli consulate.
Oh, that's interesting.
So grab my stuff, go back there, get to see the arrest taking place down there. It got violent. I think probably, according to my count, at least a dozen protesters arrested as they were burning American Israeli flags, the police and Antifa protesters clashing. So it got a little violent. And now all the conversation here in the city of Chicago is, what are they planning tonight? Some think they're going quiet. That's what some of my sources are saying. And tomorrow night is the big show that they are going to make a lot of hay tomorrow. So we're going to cover that, what I saw downtown, the anti-Israeli protests that were taking place. We'll cover that and more, plus all the speeches.
Yeah, there are a lot
Big
of them.
night. Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama. It was a walk back down to 2008 and 2012. And Billy and I were talking just before the show started. It is amazing. Democrats, they honor the past when it comes to their previous Democratic leaders. Republicans, at this point, you have no Bushes up there, no Romneys, none of that. It's like they wash that all away. But Democrats, going back to the past, would love to hear what you thought of those speeches. Give me a call, 303-696-1971. Text us as well at 720-892-6757, 720-892-6757. We are broadcasting right here from the heart of the Windy City, right in the midst of the protests that took place last night, covering all of it for you. You're not going to get better news coverage because the rest of them were all just hanging out in suites inside the United Center where the Democrat National Convention was taking place. But let's check in first on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 66 and clear, expecting a high of 92 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, a man is in the hospital with serious injuries following an officer involved shooting in Thornton last night. It happened after officers located a man with an active warrant in a parking lot near East 120th Avenue. The officers approached the man to arrest him, but say he refused to comply and tried to walk away, so they tried to subdue him with a taser. The man then reportedly pulled out a gun, prompting the officers to open fire. The officers involved will be put on administrative leave per standard protocol.
America's ready for a new chapter. America's ready for a better story. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
Former President Barack Obama and Michelle, the stars of the DNC last night. Barack said re-electing Donald Trump would be dangerous, while Michelle said Kamala Khan was bringing back hope to America. Meanwhile, dozens of pro-Hamas protesters clashed with police outside the convention center and then back inside. Barry getting them all pumped up.
If we work like we've never worked before, if we hold firm to our convictions, we will elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
That was the big chant. Do something, like, I don't know, go to bed. That's what I wanted to do. The whole thing was just tired to me. Maybe it's just so predictable, Jeff. I don't know.
Well, so the Obamas are effective communicators. This is what is generally kind of frustrating for conservatives, is that while they're wild progressives in their policies that they implement, you're into like the Oprah level stardom that you get with the two of them.
Yeah.
And you know, the best response I saw to everything last night, this idea of a new chapter, right? That Kamala is going to bring. This was there's a guy on CNN who brought this up. 12 of the last 16 years have been Obama, Biden, and Harris.
Right.
12 of the last 16 years have been dominated.
Man, that's hard to believe.
By the Democrats in the presidency. So if you're tired of the divisiveness, if you're tired of the direction of this country, if you're tired of the rocketing inflation that's taking place, you're going to blame the one guy that was in there for 1/4 of all the time that you all were in there? 4 of 16 years, and somehow it's Trump's fault, and we're going to start a new chapter.
Right.
So you get frustrated as a conservative because you're like, you guys are driving the country into the ditch, and yet you're going to go pull off this speech that looks like it's right out of, you know, an Oprah Winfrey special. So, and everything feels good and positive, and so it's why it's important for people like us to bring it back down to earth.
No question. And remind everyone that they're running against themselves.
Yes.
Or selves, because everything has been created by them. Hey, the overweight governor was in the house.
Overweight lovers in the house. The overweight lovers in the house.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I meant that's the overweight lover. I said the overweight governor, J.D. Pritzker of Illinois.
Illinois cast 1 vote present and 176 votes for the next president of the United States, future Madam President Kamala Harris.
And, you know, he wanted everyone to know that he's not only fatter than Trump, he's much richer than Trump.
Trump is rich in only one thing: stupidity.
Oh, man, that dude is hilarious. Hopefully that'll be the last time we see him. What do you think, Jeff? Will he be back up there?
Oh, heck yeah. This is his state, man. Are you kidding? Welcome to my state and my city. I'm going to get as much limelight as you can. And it was funny. I was doing a live coverage of the show the show, which is, you know, the DNC convention. And they're doing this roll call. And I'm like, it's going to be Gavin Newsom, because they go to each one of these states, and the most prominent political figure has the mic, right? It's just that's what they do. And so they get to California and they go pass, because they're going to put it at the end. They put Minnesota and California. They do all 50 states, and each state we're the home of this guy who did something important at one point, and we're the home of all that, and they do that for 50 states plus all the territories.
What a beatdown.
And so the whole time I'm sitting there going, when they go back to California, it's going to be Gavin. It's going to be Gavin. And guess who it was? Gavin Newsom. I mean, it's the same way with Illinois. These guys get to where they are because whenever there's a camera, they make sure they're in front of it.
It's amazing how they all fall in line. It really is, and they support each other so well. Got to give them credit for that.
Because they'll Joe Biden you. That's going to be a new term. You get out of line, we Joe Biden you.
That's right. That's right. Hey, meanwhile, Trump in Howell, Michigan, campaigning and at a press conference preaching safety for all.
When I'm president of the United States again, we will never even think about or mention the words defund the police. We'll never think about that again. It's got to be put away. It's a bad situation.
Hey, Russia is filing a complaint. Yes,
Billy or Blake, on that note. So I went down to the Israeli consulate protest that broke out yesterday, and there must have been 500 police officers in a 2-block radius. I mean, there were police officers lining with their bikes. What they do is they create a movable wall with their bikes for 2 blocks. I mean, so this means you have a police officer every 2.5, 3 feet.
So they move every 15 seconds or something?
They move anytime that the group moves. So if you end up with a group of protesters, they will just adjust their little bike wall to block them. And I talked I was part of an interview with the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. And Blake, it's so interesting because they're at a point now, like in Chicago, where the police are empowered, they're well funded, they've overwhelmed the city, and they're keeping the city safe.
Imagine that.
Could you imagine that?
How that
like
works.
If you treat them well and empower them and pay them and tell them to go out there and do what they want to do, that they have actually shut down these violent protests. So, and these were the same people. Even the mayor of Chicago, not that long ago, was talking about defunding the police.
Right.
Now they're relying on them to look good nationally. The hypocrisy is incredible.
What a turnaround. No, I wanted to ask you something. So the protesters are in their face, right?
Right.
I've seen the video where they're just insulting them and doing everything but spitting on them. Actually, they probably have done that. But so they've got hundreds of people every time they move, and they've got this wall, though they're hearing it from the protesters. So, but
I got a little audio. I got a little audio for you. Do we have the audio of the guy? He had a little rough time with the police. So that's a guy that got arrested, and he was complaining that the police had made him number 2.
Jeez. Oh, they forced him to relieve himself?
I think he got a little scared. He got a little scared when the police came down on him.
Yeah. That's encouraging, though, what you said about the numbers of police, though.
It's huge. It is absolutely massive, the amount of police presence they have here. And it just goes to show what conservatives always, police and protect what you love.
Right. Absolutely.
The DNC is doing it. They built a big wall. They have tons of police around. But if it comes to, our country, our neighborhoods, when they're not trying to be on national television, they don't care.
Exactly. Hey, speaking of that, the former Minneapolis police officer convicted of killing George Floyd, even though he didn't, has been moved to a prison in Texas. On Tuesday, Derek Chauvin was relocated from a transfer facility in Oklahoma to a minimum security federal prison in Big Spring, Texas. There's no word on why the move took place, but man, you think about all that happened in 2020 in Minneapolis, and what he has gone through and all those guys, man. That is good news, though, what Jeff brings us from Chicago. Russia is filing a complaint with the U.S. over American reporters entering Russia alongside Ukrainian troops. Reporters from CNN and the Washington Post have been there in that area in a Russian town currently under Ukrainian occupation after a surprise attack into Russian territory. Moscow says the reporters crossed into Russia illegally. News is brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. Rockies beat the Nationals 3-1. Back at it today, 4:45 on the East Coast. 64 in Englewood, 61 in Broomfield, 66 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Thunderstorm activity picks up a bit. Moisture increasing from the southwest means a good chance of thunderstorms. A few strong ones, low 90s today, mid-60s tonight. Storms ending by evening. A little bit cooler, staying in the 80s. Thursday and Friday with afternoon and evening thunderstorms, isolated thunderstorms, and continued warm for the weekend. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to talk with Aaron Rial. She's a national correspondent for NBC News and iHeartMedia. There's a new study out, Billy, about the most fun states. And I was like, I wonder where Colorado works. Aaron ranks. Aaron, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So help us understand the most fun states. Who did the study and where does Colorado land?
Wallet Hub did the study. Colorado, not going to bury the lead. Number 5. You guys performed very, very well. Yes. And know what? It's because Colorado is an awesome state. You guys have a lot to do when it comes to recreation. You rank number 5. When it comes to nightlife, number 9. But know what? You got to get up early to go for a hike and drink a beer after. So people like that. And
yes.
And you guys did really well. The first state for the most fun, Florida, followed by California, Nevada, New York, Colorado, then rounding out the top 10, Illinois, where you guys are right now, Texas, Washington, Minnesota, and Louisiana.
You know, I think a lot of it comes down to activity, the idea of getting out and being active and enjoying. I mean, if you're in Florida, right, number 1, you got the boat parades, you got all the fun activities you can do on the beach. I think California, did you mention, was number 2, Aaron?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And then,
so
yeah,
it's like getting out, right? That seems to be like the maybe the basis is that you do stuff with your time.
Precisely. This is your leisure time. It's valuable. And no, it makes life worth living. But they did look at a range of metrics. They did everything from like the cost of a movie to national parks to marinas, like you said. So there you go for Florida and California, restaurants per capita, all of this stuff that makes, life pretty joyous. And obviously Nevada did very well for bars and nightlife and casinos and all of that. But they also looked at like art yes, nightlife is beautiful. Art is beautiful. Hikes are beautiful. This is all the stuff that like, I always wonder when they get rid of recess or things like that at school. And I'm like, you guys, no, that's not a good idea. Like it is about a balance. Like you need to do all the stuff. And this study is kind of indicative of that.
Now, can you tell us who's at the bottom of the list?
Yeah, I know. I feel bad. Not that surprising though. West Virginia, dead last. Followed by Mississippi, Delaware, Rhode Island. I was surprised by the Rhode Island because being here in the Northeast, Rhode Island is actually beautiful. And maybe because it's small, so they did like restaurants per capita. I don't know. Then Arkansas, Vermont, Connecticut. Those are the worst ones, the worst performers.
My mind's going back, I think, to a Wayne's World skit where they're like, Delaware. And they don't have anything to say about Delaware.
That was very good. That was an awesome skit. Yeah.
So,
we're in Delaware.
Well, Aaron Riel, national correspondent with NBC News and iHeartMedia, thank you so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show. Give us a little insight on this new study. Colorado number 5. That's good news.
That's wonderful.
So go out there and enjoy a hike, enjoy a cold beer, and have some fun in the Mile High State. Thanks so much, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
have a good
guys.
day.
Have a good day.
All right. Wow. Self high five. That's awesome. That's great.
Colorado is a fun state.
Yes,
DC's fun when you're 25. It's not so much fun when you're 35, but
that's true.
25, really fun state. But yeah, there's other states. What do you do for fun in Delaware?
And anyone that has done that road trip across the country knows that, you had some more fun in certain states than others. Some states you were just like, how quickly can we get out of here? Although on the road trip, it is very interesting personally that you can tell when you change over from state to state because the roads change and the amount of investment they do in infrastructure is definitely obvious. Colorado, we need some.
I know. I know. But didn't we get like $1 trillion in infrastructure spending? And like you now drive on candy corn? I don't know. Everything's great.
That's only in Aspen. That's where it's going. Aspen and Vail get that. The rest of us, it doesn't matter. As big as potholes as they want us to. That's all it is.
What I appreciate about Colorado is there's this general culture that you just go do stuff.
Yeah.
And there's so much to enjoy out there: rafting, golf, hiking, climbing 14ers, rock climbing. It's just a state that's just full of adventurous opportunities, and people are very adventurous things. But I wonder if some people don't like that. I remember seeing one time a meme that was like, please, for the love of God, don't let me marry into a family that runs 5Ks for fun.
Yeah, exactly. There are going to be some that don't like the idea of, we can get out almost 24/7. I mean, there is this misnomer around the nation that Colorado during the winter is snow-packed. That's the mountains. The reason that the settlers stopped here is because we didn't get as much snow. That and the water. That is the entire reason. It's in a little tiny basin right up against the foothills. And anybody that's been here understands that you can still be playing golf in February and you possibly could be wearing shorts. Now, again, grass is going to be mostly brown. But does that really matter? You're still out in there spanking whitey. That's not a bad thing in the middle of February to have a short sleeve shirt on, a t-shirt, something like that, and out there golfing. So that is the secret that we have inside of Denver is everyone thinks that we're snow-packed. Yeah, we have snow, but because of where we sit, it melts really quickly. So that's the fun part is we can get out forever.
What do you like to do in Colorado for fun? By the way, I thought it was a fun little survey. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971 or text us at 720-892-6757. We've got a whole lot to cover today. We're going to get into the speeches. We're going to get into the protests. We're going to get into what the Democrats are trying to achieve. And do you believe that they're achieving it with the DNC convention? Are they going to win? I'm concerned. I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
Give us a call. Tell us what you think. Is Trump going to win this? 303-696-1971. We've got an absolutely jam-packed show. You're going to want to stick with us. Look, with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about Dr. Mike at the Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. See for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. I've been going there for over 20 years. Dr. Mike and his entire staff are outstanding. I like the fact that the same person always cleans my teeth. If you need an awesome dentist, Dr. Mike is your guy. If your gums are receding, it's critical to address this issue promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The procedure involves just making a small hole in the tissue and gently repositioning the gums. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike to discover the benefits of this revolutionary procedure. Call 303-233-1335. That's 303-233-1335 or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. All right, we'll continue with live broadcasts from the Democrat National Convention. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
We're getting a lot of good messages.
Yes, we
This
are.
is a great one. 5442. When I'm in Delaware, I watch Biden sleep on the beach.
That
Talk
is a good
about fun.
That's great.
That is a good one. We just hosted Aaron Riel from NBC News. The state of Colorado coming in number 5 is the most fun state out there in America, according to a number of things from movie ticket prices to restaurant access to things you can go do outside. This seems pretty right. Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are a
it's
great
definitely in the
secret here.
top percent.
Oh, yeah.
I do think that California and Florida with their beaches probably add a little bit more than we do.
The beaches and all of the the sites, things like you get to go see Hollywood, you've got Disneyland, Disney World,
Yes,
Universal
that's
Studios.
right.
So you've got those attractions.
We have Elitch.
Yeah. Which again, you remember when they were under the banner of Six Flags? That's when they really did a nice investment, and there almost was a
They're
time.
not under
No.
Six Flags anymore.
No, they're not Six Flags. Haven't been for about 6-7 years.
Really?
Is when that broke up, which is unfortunate because Six Flags were the ones that were in here making the big investments and expanding the park. And I really thought that Six Flags was going to try to make this, the Elitch is somewhat of a destination inside of Denver. That would be one of the things you would want to stop and see with the family when you came here. And yeah, unfortunately, the current ownership doesn't have that kind of investment money. So yeah, it stinks.
I'm just old school, man. I'm like back to the Wildcat.
Oh, God,
all
yeah.
that fun stuff.
Yes.
Elitch and once they moved, never was the same for me.
No.
Never was.
No, it never was. It became very corporate and it was just,
Yep.
too big. But, well, still, I will say, though, if you have a family and you plan on going a number of times over the course of the season, their yearly passes are a really, really solid deal. Again, you've got to go a number of times, but the nice part is they also kick in coupons so you can bring friends for free. So the idea is you can buy passes for the family, and then you've got enough other coupons that you can drag your friends, your kids' friends along with you and give them a free day and do some other stuff. Also, make sure you buy the refillable soda thing. And then keep bringing that back because now they charge you a little bit more money for it. But that used to be one of the best deals in the park, that you'd buy that thing once and you keep bringing it back all season and you just keep refilling it for almost nothing. Now they charge you a little bit more. And so it's not as good a deal as it was years ago. But the yearly passes, the Elitches are solid. Yeah, if you have to make the choice.
And in Delaware, you can watch a sleeping, aging president on the beach.
Okay,
that was a great text.
That is a wonderful one.
5442.
See, there's the thing, Jeff. Is it was you and I and our texter there on the beach watching Joe sleep. We'd be daring each other to go over there and try to bury him. Just so he'd wake up buried up to the neck. Just because. Just why not?
Or
see
just
how long we can do it.
toss chips around them and see how many birds we could get to come by.
Exactly. Yes, that would be the best. I'm surrounded by seagulls. That'd be fantastic.
The DNC, speaking in that, has moved on entirely from Joe Biden. Last night
That was quick.
Barack Obama, Michelle Obama. It was a harken back to their leadership, which, their memory holding any type of complaint or critique about the Obama years. It felt like Kennedy-esque, like everything was great. We were Democrat royalty. Do you remember how awesome your life was? And in no way did that lead to Donald Trump's presidency because of the rise of the forgotten man that took place under Barack Obama. But it was a harken back to that, and now Kamala.
Yeah.
So if you watched the DNC last night, I'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971 or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Chuck Schumer got up there, and look, Chuck is just awkward, and
just so
politicians are such nerds. This is what I talked about during the live stream.
Yeah.
All right, we are not cool people. We weren't that like to go to do debates, and we followed political news, so we can't dance. We're not smooth on the stage. Maybe Barack Obama is a little bit more, but Chuck Schumer comes out awkwardly. He gets his hands going, all that, and tries to get the crowd pumped up about what a Democrat Senate could deliver for Kamala Harris. That was his point. And then they go to Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I didn't see Bernie. I didn't spend time there.
Bernie roasted Hillary Clinton.
Hey, good for him.
This has not made a lot of news.
Oh, it's good for him.
But it should have. Yeah. At one point, Bernie Sanders complains about the use of billionaires operating in political primaries.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. That's good.
That, if you missed it, which was Sly, this is where, being a political nerd, you pick up on this stuff. He was complaining about the 2016 primary when Hillary Clinton kneecapped him and kept him out of the nomination. Still holding on to that, Billy boy. He's still holding on to that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I would too.
I would too. Absolutely, I would. It's interesting they gave him time on the stage. I think that is a nod to the
because he's not a Democrat.
No,
he's not a Democrat.
No, not at all. But I think that's a nod to the very liberal Dems. And in all honesty, I think it's also kind of a wink and a nod to the people that are out there doing the protest and stuff, saying, see, we like the really liberal people too. See, we can listen to them. We can be friends with them. So I think that was a kind of an olive branch of sorts. But I skipped his speech.
Yeah, Bernie gave you every progressive dream that you could imagine. Everything from, healthcare is a universal human right, that it is our schools that will save this country. By the way, there is something that has absolutely shifted in the Democrat Party as it relates to the trades. And it's because the Republicans led on this, okay? Barack Obama talked about it last night, that the idea that you don't have to go to college to be successful. And in fact, the trades will deliver for you. Okay, this is a total pivot. For the last 20 years, it was about making college affordable. We're going to send everybody to college. College is the way up. All that stuff. That's changed. And it was Mike Rowe. I don't even say the Republicans led on this. The Republicans were the first one to embrace it in this, but it was Mike Rowe that was going, we have stopped teaching the trades in schools. We haven't provided a pathway for kids that shouldn't be going to college. And now I've heard that multiple times in a row at the DNC that not every kid needs to go to college. We need to support the trades. That's a total pivot that they're trying to embrace. That has been nowhere in the Democrat platform for the last 20 years.
No, it hasn't.
We got a caller there, Bill.
Yeah, we've got Bill and Parker joining us. Good morning, Bill.
Morning, guys.
Yeah, morning. You said you listened to some of the speeches last night and then also saw the Trump event. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, I did see them, and I was. It was amazing that the people on Fox were very praiseworthy of the speeches at the end. Brett Baer and what's his name, McCallum.
Yeah.
Very complimentary. I thought Michelle Obama, hit it out of the park. I mean, she really did a good job. And aside from that, those people, man, they like to party. That's all I can say. That when they were doing that roll call, man, they were having too much fun. But what I wanted to say was, I did see this Trump event, and I don't know if you saw it, but it looked like it took place in some type of a maintenance hangar. It looked like it wasn't meant to be a big capacity thing. They didn't show the crowd, but based on the applause level, I would say there weren't more than a few dozen people there, probably mostly the people that worked there or something. But here was the thing. When Trump was talking, I've never seen lower energy in my life. I mean,
Bill,
I don't know what's going on.
It's interesting you said that, Bill, because I didn't see the event or the clips of Trump at first. I heard the audio. And again, people knock me about this, but being a bit of an audiophile, the first thing I'm like, that's echoey. He's in somewhere there's a lot of concrete around him. That's the first thing I heard was.
Yeah, he was in like an hangar.
Exactly.
Hangar
the first thing I heard is the audio. I'm like, that's bad audio. Why would you put him there?
Yeah.
And he's not close enough to get close enough to the mic to balance out the echo he's going to create based on the other sound waves. So I'm like,
and there weren't thousands or even hundreds of people there. They were based on the applause that I could hear. There were a few dozen people there. But again, when you listen to it or if you saw it, I mean, he looked like he was coming out of anesthesia or something. Like,
I thought that too. I thought the first time I heard the audio clip, I thought they were running at the wrong speed. I thought they'd slowed it down by like a third or something because there just was no energy and there was no fire in what he was saying. Yeah.
And what I'm wondering is if this whole thing with Kamala isn't getting into his head and he's just losing it, like he's seeing some kind of writing on the wall and he's going to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy or she's going to run all over him because he's just like, I don't know. If you're a big, and I'm not a big Trump guy, but if you are, I would have been very discouraged by what I saw yesterday. I'll tell you what. And, it is common that the other party lays low when the other party's having their convention. So that's kind of, there's a little bit of that. But I mean, his energy level was really unbelievably low.
Yeah,
So,
I want to
we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, if I'm a scheduler, I want to get him in front of a larger, adoring crowd to pump up his energy because he feeds off the energy of the crowd. I want to show everybody that he is just as exciting as the Dems are. And I thought you were talking about the roll call. That was incredibly smart how the Democrats pulled it off because of the word you said, party. Jeff and I were talking about that yesterday with our listeners, that if the Democrats can continue this feeling of this is the cool party, not like Democrat Republican Party, but the party on campus, you see, that's what they're looking for. And if they
like
can
a frat
continue
party,
that, exactly, man, exactly.
And when you look at Kamala dancing and smiling, and then you look at Trump, I mean, the guy just projects anger, you know, you've heard of sore losers. He was a sore winner. I mean, he's like the anti-Reagan. I don't know how he's gotten as far as he's gotten, but I don't know.
I'll tell you this, Bill, what he has embraced and why it worked for him, at least in 16, is things aren't great for a lot of people. You sit there and you watch Kamala Harris dancing around. A lot of people in my life are working 2 jobs.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's always been the case. But, yeah, I mean.
So it doesn't make me feel good to see them dancing. I'm glad Barack and Michelle Obama own 4 houses, one in Hawaii, one in DC, one in Chicago, one in Martha's Vineyard. Well, I get to work 2 jobs just to try to get by so I can pay for somebody else's health care.
Yeah, well, it helps to write a best-selling book or something. I don't know. But
I agree, but the dancing doesn't always translate.
No, I'm just saying the vibe that it sends out. That's all. I'm not saying I don't think happy days are here again. But actually, it's not that. If you look at the economic statistics, it's pretty good. The stock market. You know, the other day you're going to Kamala crash. Well, guess what? That's gone, and it's completely 100% recovered from the little losses that suffered over those 3 or 4 days. Completely back, and that was only 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it broke 40,000 the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. Inflation's below 3%. There was a spike last year, obviously, but you know something people don't talk about? Why was there inflation? Because there had to be so much liquidity injected because of all the people out of work, the airlines, the restaurants, the service industry. That started under Trump. It continued under Biden. And you know there's a lag on that. You're getting all this money put in with no corresponding productivity because people are home. And that has to be inflation, and it lags. So that was inevitable, and it's going to land in the lap of the guy who comes along a year or 2 later, which was Joe Biden, unfortunately for him. But it's inevitable that if there hadn't been that injection of liquidity to cause that inflation, there would have been a 2008 level real estate and banking crash. And you don't see that because it didn't happen. So nobody gets credit for something that didn't happen, but that's a fact.
Well, Bill, I appreciate the call. Bill. We're just running out of time here. Bill from Parker, his line will be open 303-696-1971. To Bill's point, does the dancing and celebration make you feel more encouraged about the Democrat Party, or does it make you feel like they're more out of touch?
I got an idea.
Let them eat cake.
Are both the candidates becoming the avatar of their party's feelings? Is Kamala becoming the avatar of joy and optimism that the Democrats are feeling right now? They're trying to capture that party atmosphere because they have jettisoned their septuagenarian or octogenarian. And is Trump the avatar of the anger and the frustration that Americans are feeling that are voting for him? Have the two people, based on what Bill was saying on their delivery, have they just become avatars for either side of their party? And anybody in the middle has to decide which character they want to play.
Give us a call, 303-696-1971. We'll be back with You Choose the News. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to veer a little bit here because the audience demands it. You choose the news, Billy.
Yes, it is that portion of the show where we take this thing and crash right into the median, going full speed. It's something we call You Choose the News. We've scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans, give them even more ridiculous names to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Nobody that has any power around here has any idea we do this because they don't wake up until 7. So we are taking full advantage of having no supervision. You know how we roll. Also, we are proudly sponsored today by Doug's Diner. Come on out and see us do this silly thing live next Tuesday. We're going to be at the Doug's Diner in Parker. That's 18595 East Main Street. You can't write down the address. It's basically between Parker Road and 20 Mile, north side of the road. Come see us do this silliness live. All righty, gentlemen, here we go. Headline number 1, rules for the poors. Headline number 2, fame is a monster. Headline number 3, Disney World finally getting good financing. And actually, the noodles won't kill you. That's headline number 4. Your choice, sir.
Let's start with the noodles.
Yes, actually, the noodles won't kill you. That's what Danes are now being told in the capital of Copenhagen. The Danish government has come out and said, ooh, yeah, you know those South Korean ramen noodles that we banned a few months ago because they were too spicy? Well, we can now let you burn the tops of your roofs. Originally, they said the Danish palates cannot possibly handle that much capsaicin, that it would pose a serious health risk to the pale ones way up north in Europe. But no, they said fine. Now they've had some rethink. And they've decided that, okay, they've had a regulatory warning on the package for it to be distributed. But yes, you now can get your spicy ramen noodles. Yes. I mean, again, you've seen some of the food they eat up there. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, the spicy noodles, and you ban the spicy? Okay, fine. All right.
You got to eat as a college student. Come on.
Exactly. Like, what do the college kids eat? Oh my gosh. Okay. They just put bouillon cubes between their chicken gum. And that's all we do. All righty. Blake, your choice, sir. Rules for the poors. Fame is a monster. Or Disney World finally getting financing.
Fame is a monster.
Yes, fame is a monster. Because, well, a fan's wonderful moment on stage recently with American rapper Macklemore quickly took a bad turn when she was arrested after the performance. She was on stage with him during the Love Stream Festival. It was just a couple of days ago. She's up there dancing around.
Trying to love him up.
Well, hey, nicely done there. The thing is that the problem is she made a social media brag about her impromptu performance with the rapper, and the police saw it. She's got a warrant out for her arrest.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, because she posted the fact that she won the chance to get up on stage with Macklemore and she's going to be performing there, the guys with the funny silver bracelets were waiting for her right when she stepped off the stage.
No way.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, they said, that was a nice performance. This way into the car.
Do you think she knew she had a warrant out? I wonder how many people don't even know they have warrants out for them.
My guess would be yes, absolutely. But again, have you noticed on some social media, we're phenomenally stupid. How many times do we take video and pictures of our legal activities and then share them? Idiots. We're idiots. Okay, Jeff, your final choice this morning. Rules for the poors or Disney World financing?
Let's go to Disney.
Yeah, let's go to Disney. You want to pay for Disney World? Maybe you can find financing right there on the beach. Yep, yet again, someone has discovered $500,000 in cocaine just off the coast of Panther Key. Yeah, this is about $5 million they have found so far just this season alone. I'm just saying, you want to finance a trip to Disneyland, Disney World? Go a little fishing outside. Might buy get enough cocaine to pay for the trip. Just, suggestion. Not saying you have to. All right, 10 seconds. Back to you, sir.
All right, when we return, we'll cover the protests and all things DNC. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. My name is Jeff Hunt. I'm a co-host broadcasting live from the circus. That is the Democrat National Convention. It's hard to describe, Billy, what I've experienced over the last 2 days, knowing we've got 2 more days of it. Potentially growing protests.
Yeah.
And activities. And I'll talk a little bit about what happened last night because I was down there while the dudes were getting put in the paddy wagon.
Nice. It's good that you had all your shots before you left. That's good.
It is. It is. Yes. And then going around the city of Chicago, enjoying some of the finer aspects of Chicago, some great recommendations from our listeners here. And then trying to cover the speeches that are happening at night and all the activity. It is a wild circus here in Chicago. And I think we're doing better than anybody else because if you go to Channel 9 or anybody, they're kind of just covering what's happening in the room itself. But
that's what we got Greg Clugston later on. I think he's going to tell us what's going on in the room. We got that
Greg
covered.
will tell us exactly.
We got that covered. You're doing the stuff nobody else is doing. You're getting the story. And here's the thing. If you go back and you watch the news coverage of the event, you do see the big moments of the speeches that are online and played. And that's what Greg's given us. But the sizzle, the thing that's really interesting is the weirdness that is happening outside the DNC. And and we're the local people that are giving you that one. We're the ones that are out there. You're doing the hard work and putting your body on the line. And I'm sure happy it's you, not me. Thank you, my friend.
I haven't felt unsafe at any moment.
Excellent. That's good.
Well, there's a few parts of Chicago I got into. I was like, this is not good. My spidey sense went up when you're coming up on just young groups of men hanging out. You're like, there's nobody else around but me and a bunch of teenage dudes.
You're like,
could go south.
Yeah, it's like in this dynamic, I'm viewed as the target. This is not a good thing. I know exactly what's happening here. I had this in high school. This is not good. Yeah,
scrawny boy walks by, a bunch of strong dudes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all those years of those things that happen in the school school hallways. You're like, oh yeah, I can feel this coming. I know this is happening. Yes, exactly.
So that only happened once or twice, but for the most part, I felt pretty safe here. One of the more fascinating conversations I had for 10 minutes last night was with these Jews that are anti-Zionists, Orthodox Jews. And I had always heard of these groups. It's a group of Jews that they live in Israel and they refuse to join the army.
Wow.
And I finally sat down and got a debrief as to why they believe what they believe. We'll cover that. We'll cover the protests that took place. I was right there as these guys got arrested yesterday. And then the speeches last night, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders, and then the whole roll call, Little John, not Little Wayne. Sorry, I get those guys mixed up. Little John was there.
Little John started, I was like, dude, that was something. That was something else when they brought him out. That I was like, oh, because that's meant to go viral. That is talking to voters that are 35 and under. That was clever. Their whole presentation of the roll call was
now
very
to Georgia,
clever.
and then welcome to Atlanta and Little John and all that stuff. So they did have a party.
Yeah,
so we'll cover all of this in the next few hours. You're going to want to stick with us as we provide the best up-to-date live coverage right from Chicago for the Democrat National Convention. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 66 and partly cloudy outside, expecting a high of 92 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
She's a Marxist because if you go back and look at her,
that probably sounds horrible.
Over the years.
All right, give me 2 seconds here, and I will clean it up. But that was former President Donald Trump, who was actually on Salem Media this morning, and I think it's newsworthy because he.
Wait, hold on, Blake. Hold on. I got to stop this for a second here. You're saying that former President Donald Trump was not on the Jeff and Bill show. Did he talk to somebody else? I mean.
He's on the Jeff and Bill show now.
Somehow that doesn't make me feel better. If any of the schedulers knew I was on the show, I understand the choice. I get the choice, my friend. But
in a way, he was on. Okay, so
okay, good.
Here he is.
Just say here he is on our show. Thank you. Go ahead.
You're the man.
In my opinion, she's a Marxist because if you go back and look at her what she's done over the years. She's a Marxist. Now, she's changed and flip-flopped on just about everything she believed in life, but she's a Marxist.
Yep. Former President Trump up early this morning, continues to work hard. On with you.
You know, I was mentioned at the Democrats' little party that they have going on in Chicago, and it's pretty sad. I just heard that many people were shot during that, and 5 people were killed already in Chicago during this convention. That just came out, that number, which is shocking. But they don't talk about that. But I was mentioned, I think, almost 200 times, and they mentioned the economy about 5 times. They mentioned the border, maybe none. Mentioned crime, almost none. So, I mean, they're out of control. These people are out of control. They're ruining our nation. Our nation is going to hell. And we have millions of people coming in haplessly, coming in from all over the world, from parts unknown, from countries people never even heard of. And they're just pouring into our country. And they come in from prisons. They come in from mental institutions, insane asylums.
America, hope is making a comeback.
Former First Lady Michelle Obama and her husband, former President Obama, the stars of the DNC last night. Barack said re-electing Trump would be dangerous, while Michelle said Kamala Khan was bringing back hope to America. Meanwhile, dozens of pro-Hamas protesters clashed with police, and Jeff was there. We'll hear some of that sound. And Jeff also told us the night of chaos is actually tomorrow. So that's the big night of craziness, evidently. Hey, Barry got them all wee-weed up.
If we work like we've never worked before, if we hold firm to our convictions, we will elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
That was the big chant last night. Do something, maybe like close the border. Do something like that. J.D. Vance continues to campaign and hitting safety and common sense hard on Tuesday.
It is simple. We are going to end sanctuary cities in this country. We're going to bring back pro-law enforcement cities. We are going to deport the violent, illegal aliens that have come into this country over the last few years. No more free rides. No more amnesty. We're going to support the death penalty for drug dealers because they kill far more people than some of the most violent and vicious criminals. We have got to have real penalties for people who are killing our kids and poisoning our communities.
Back at home, a man is in the hospital with serious injuries following an officer-involved shooting in Thornton last night. It happened after officers located a man with an active warrant in a parking lot near East 120th Avenue. The officers approached the man to arrest him, but say he refused to comply and tried to walk away, so they tried to subdue him with a taser. The man reportedly pulled out a gun, prompting the officers to open fire, and the officers involved in the shooting will be put on administrative leave per standard protocol. The Rockies beat the Nationals 3-1. Back at it today at 4:45 on the East Coast. 64 in Highlands Ranch, 63 in Arvada, 66 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue Wednesday from Chicago. Jeff and Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Thunderstorm activity picks up a bit. Moisture increasing from the southwest means a good chance of thunderstorms. A few strong ones, low 90s today, mid-60s tonight. Storms ending by evening. A little bit cooler, staying in the 80s. Thursday and Friday with afternoon and evening thunderstorms, isolated thunderstorms, and continued warm for the weekend. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show as we cover all things Democrat National Convention here in Chicago. Last night, Barack Obama, the big headliner. And thank God we got to bed a little bit earlier than we did previous nights. But Barack Obama back. And I was wondering how it made you feel. 2008, 2012, his presidency. I worked very, very hard to try to stop him in 2012. And when you see him back on stage, you have this natural kind of forgetfulness of all the challenges you had under his presidency. He's dynamic. He speaks well. He's engaging. He's intelligent. And so as you're watching his speech, what kind of feelings came back to you? Was Barack Obama's presidency successful?
Jeff, you know what I heard last night that was really weird?
What's
it hit me just totally out of left field. And I hadn't made the connection before. I talked about it earlier. I'm sitting there and I'm trying to go backwards because I had other stuff to do last night and starting to go backwards into some of the earlier speeches while letting Obama run in the background. And I'm listening to his cadence and his speech style. And I sat there and went, hang on, that's Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, right.
He has an almost
100%
identical oratory style.
Yep.
Again, it was if I'd been sitting there watching and being super engaged with Barack, then I probably would have missed it. But it just was the rhythm and the sound of the back, and I'm like, I've heard this recently. And then I kind of sit there for a second. I'm like, oh my God! I'm like, that's Shapiro does the same thing. And so, obviously, Obama came first,
and it's why he's not VP pick.
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree based on the cadence.
You because he's too good. I think that was part of the calculations that he is a better communicator than Kamala. By the way, Billy,
could be.
By the way, this is just a little side thing.
Yeah,
she has totally learned. I called it yesterday watching her.
Yeah,
she pulls the mic away when she laughs.
Yep, she does. You're right. You were absolutely right. You're the first person that said it. You're absolutely 110%
She has learned.
Right.
Somebody trained her, and that is what she's going to do from now on.
Yeah, someone said, get away from the microphone when you're doing that. That the visual's okay, but the sound is not. And so she took away that point of mockery.
Yeah.
And I think you've got something there with Shapiro being a better communicator and overshadowing her. You know, here's the thing is, I think you're closer to the truth than the people that are running around and saying that Shapiro wasn't put on the ticket because he's Jewish. And the only reason I disagree with that is she married a Jewish guy. I mean, it's not as if that's something that either she nor the ticket is afraid of. For me, I think you're actually correct on this one, that he is a better communicator and would look more polished. Tim Walz still looks like everybody's Midwestern dad. He's goofy. He seems out of place. He does, some strange things with his hands sometimes, but he's not going to overshadow Kamala in any way, shape, or form. But if Shapiro gave a speech and then Kamala had to give a speech, chances are Shapiro's resonates better. He's a better orator. Yeah. I think he got something there.
Well, and I've been a little surprised. You saw it with Chuck Schumer yesterday, that the Democrats really haven't backed away from Israel as much as I thought they were going to. Now, he went a whole nother level and tried to claim that Donald Trump's anti-Semitic. I'm like, bro, look, I'm like, the guy with Jewish grandchildren, come on.
Yeah.
The guy that negotiated the Abraham Accords, the guy that moved the embassy to Jerusalem, the guy that has been like solid standing with Israel is anti-Semitic. That's when Chuck Schumer went way too far, in my opinion. But he stood there with he had the little blue square lapel pin on and said, "We are standing with Israel." I've been a little surprised to see that they have been that open, considering you have all the protesters outside at the Israeli consulate lighting Israeli flags on fire.
Oh, yeah. And I think it is a very smart move strategically for the Democrats, because if they back away from it, that's what's going to be the news. And when Schumer goes out there and starts calling Trump anti-Semitic, you sit there and go, yeah, Chuck, that's why nobody really takes you seriously. I mean, just honestly, other than the fact, I mean, he's in his position because of the state he represents and because he's been there that long. That's basically it. He's not there because he is a great mover of people. He doesn't have that killer instinct that Nancy Pelosi does. And he's nowhere close to a Mitch McConnell based on a statesman. So, yeah, it's just one of those things that Chuck comes out there and goes, this is why they only let me outside sometimes. That's all he's doing. And it's silly. But I'm surprised, though, that they have leaned into Israel. And I think it's very, very, very smart, incredibly smart. Because, yes, there are a lot of protesters out there. And as you talked to him yesterday, I still say the play, if I was in the strategy meeting with the Democrats, is tell the protesters, we are listening to you. We are going to try to impact the policies inside of Israel. But there's no way we're backing away from them because of what happens. And we are not going to be responsible for that type of genocide on Jewish people a second time. You need to wake up and smell yourselves. If you want to go ahead and vote for someone that is going to lean into this harder, go right ahead, but don't then complain about the war. You've lost your ability to complain about it if you don't vote for the party that is going to get you closer to what you want. If you're going to have that protest vote, then don't complain when stuff you don't like happens, because you tried to make that outcome happen. So stop complaining. It's the same argument I have sometimes with Rocky Mountain gun owners here. It's like, if you're going to be such purists, then don't complain when the Democrats win more and they come after gun rights. Don't complain, because you facilitated that. If you're worried about it, protect it. Stop being a purist.
Yeah,
a purist.
And we ran into them.
Absolutely.
And we have some audio here. Why don't we start with marchers repeat phrases, Billy? Let's listen to that one. Gives you a sense of what it's like down there. Let's try marchers chanting, Billy. Let's see what we got there.
Okay, where's marchers? Oh, there it is.
And then let's go crazy free Palestine lady marcher.
Ooh, I can't wait for this one. I saw this one earlier on the cut sheet, and I'm like, ooh, you have my attention. Let's see what the crazy lady has to say. Well, I don't know about you. I'm convinced. No, definitely.
That gives you a sense of what we have.
That's great.
Here going on. So that was day one. Those were down at the rallies. And I thought they were going to do something similar, right? We were going to go down and there was going to be 5,000 people and they were going to make this, they were going to make their speeches and their statements and then they'd go for a march because they're here. Yeah. They're here in Chicago. What else are they going to do? They don't have jobs, clearly. So I'm not sure who hires these people to begin with, but what were they doing yesterday? So I go down yesterday, I ride this little electric scooter and I go to where the protests were the day before and nothing.
Jeez.
Like literally a totally empty park. So I'm like, all right, there's another park down closer to where all the activities are. I'll go down there. This is where we marched to. So I'll go to the final park. Nothing. So then I'm like, well, let's just drive around the city. And I start talking to cops, and the cops are like, we don't know where they are, and that should concern you.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know where they are, and that should concern you because we don't know what's happening. When they broadcast what they're doing, we all generally have a sense of what they're doing. But when they're not, something's building. So then I thought, I'm going to go down to Trump Tower because surely there's going to be a protester at Trump Tower.
Yeah.
Rode my little scooter, about 25 minutes on over there, dodged all the cars, avoided all that stuff. By the way, somebody's like, I hope you get hazard pay on this. They're not off on that. It's the hazard comes from trying to navigate the streets. Go down there, not a single person. So I made a video that went viral saying that there is not a single protest that I can find in the city of Chicago yesterday. Wow. It is totally silent. And then it blew up about 4 hours later.
Wow.
There was a riot outside the Israeli consulate. and it got violent. And I got down there in time to see the arrest taking place. They arrested about a dozen people. There were probably 400 or 500 police there. The police response is huge. They have cut all overtime from these guys, or they've expanded overtime. They've cut the days off. You're not allowed to take a day off if you're a police officer in Chicago right now. You are going to work. They overwhelm the protesters. They shut them down in probably 20 or 30 minutes once the protest got violent. Now, they were burning American and Israeli flags, and they got it shut down. It was impressive. And it goes to show, that if you are serious about protecting something, you engage the police, you empower them, you don't mess around, you can keep the peace in these communities. And right now, Chicago's generally a pretty peaceful place. And that's amazing, Billy, if you think about the articles that we were reading. We were reading that this was going to rival 1968, that they were expecting 25, 50, 100,000 members of Antifa here. And at the peak, I've seen 5,000. They were generally pretty peaceful, but the police presence is huge in Chicago, and you haven't seen the big riots yet. Now, what I am hearing is that they may lay low tonight. I'm going to go back downtown right after the show. We're staying there. I probably will not do commentary live broadcast on tonight's DNC because I want to be where the action is. And I want to see that things see what's happening there.
Yeah. And tonight we've got Bill Clinton, Tim Walz. Yay.
Dude, Tim Walz is kind of weird.
I don't know. The thing for me is it's just dad energy. It's just all the dad stuff.
Oh,
that's
man. It's like liberal dad energy, which is just that's a little beta for me.
That's interesting that you said that because it's I've seen a couple of those critiques so far, but the critiques have been the idea that that the idea of this super alpha male, is like why the Andrew Tate type issue. And no, Tim wasn't supposed to be that. And if you had to talk to your sons and daughters, and this was the commentator I was talking about, is that they saw it, would you rather your son behave like Andrew Tate or Tim Walz? And they said, if that's the energy that we're talking alpha male versus, this liberal dad, the commentator was like, that's an easy choice. It's an easy choice as far as what path you would want your son to follow. Then it's a decent point.
That's a weird either or.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of sitting there and I'm like,
oh yeah, so yeah.
Is C an option?
Oh yeah, it is. It is and the person writing the article set that up specifically because it's an awful choice. Absolutely, it is. But that was the effort they were saying, is that if you're looking at where this type of energy goes, is this something you celebrate, or is it something here that you're more comfortable with? Oh, it was interesting. It was an interesting take on it. That is there a masculinity that doesn't have to be alpha, was kind of the writing. And I'm like, that's interesting. That's why they grabbed me. That's why I'm like, okay, that's interesting thought. Hadn't thought about that before. So let's read that one. It was interesting.
Billy, play speaker claims Americans want gender care and Palestine support.
Let me see here. Where'd that go? Speaker claims. Oh, there it is. Okay.
We want what the majority of Americans want: expanded access to reproductive and gender-affirming health care, and support for families, and an end to U.S. arms exports to Israel.
That gives you a little bit of flavor, and I'm going through these as they've been edited, but
I'm not sure Hamas is pro in the whole gender thing.
That gives you a sense of the protesters are kind of this hodgepodge of all things Marxist. We talked about this yesterday, so because they live in a world where you're either oppressor or oppressed, like that's their entire matrix.
Yep.
And so you can put any issue, any person into that matrix, and if you're an oppressor, bad. Oppressed, good. It doesn't matter if you're actually good or bad.
No.
So, Billy, you and I would believe in
your
like
worldview. It's great for your worldview because it makes everything easy. It's so easy if you just can decide that you're in one of two organizations. Either you're the oppressor or the oppressed, then I know how to treat you. That is so easy as far as dissecting the world. I understand why people gravitate towards that. It's juvenile and stupid, but well.
And it greens lights the oppressed to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And we maybe don't have the audio here. We'll get to it at some. We have so much content that we've got to produce and we'll put together for y'all. But in my interviews with these folks, the biggest challenge they had answering, because Billy, you and I believe in a universal right or wrong. right?
Yes.
So if you rape somebody, there's no justification for it. I'm sorry. There's just no justification for raping somebody ever. You can't give me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explore my little philosophical thinking mind's trying to explore any type of possible situation where that would be justified. I can't.
Yeah, can't at all.
There's no justification for it. But if you're an oppressor, or if you're the oppressed, you can justify it against the oppressor because you're fighting back against the power structures.
Yeah.
Right. So when I asked these people, was Hamas justified on October 7th, what they did? They struggled because they know there's a universal right or wrong.
Yeah.
And yet they fall into these Marxist categories of like, well, they were oppressed.
Yeah.
They're held down by these people, and so the raping becomes a form of fighting back. Their worldview falls apart, and I would walk alongside and talk to them about it, and that's where it breaks down philosophically for them, because there's a part of them that knows that it's universally wrong.
Oh, absolutely. And part of the difficulty in the conversation is the idea that if you think this violence is justified, and we can all agree that rape is violent, then are you saying that rape is then justified, as this type of a tool to fight back? And what does that mean? And you can take that into all sorts of other situations and say, well, with this group that feels oppressed or is being, as being nominally oppressed, can they go out and just start raping? Is that what you're justifying? Are you saying that this is okay? And you could even get into certain situations where, again, lawyers can argue almost anything, where based on someone's economic or sociological conditions, they feel oppressed. So that's why I had to go out there and rape all those people, is because the system is holding me down. And that's how I was fighting back. Because that's where they're going with that logically. And it's stupid. It's just phenomenally stupid.
And that makes up part of their worldview. And you hear that, right? So this like constant, gender affirming care now comes into it because we're oppressed, or public funding for abortion needs to be paid because we're oppressed. So it's always oppressor versus oppressed. Now, Billy, this was a follow-up to yesterday's conversation. It was one of the most fascinating moments I've had here. So I go down to this riot that's taking place outside the Israeli consulate. I'm watching people get arrested, and I've seen this group of very Orthodox Jews. I mean, with the kind of twirly hair that comes down and the big hats and all that stuff. And every time I see them, they're standing with the Palestinians and they're holding signs that says Jews should not be Zionists. It's basically, we are anti-Zionist Jews.
Wow.
So I took my microphone, went down, talked. We'll have the audio up here eventually, but I went down and talked with them, had a great 10-minute conversation theologically. And here's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Okay. This group believes that there is scripture in Song of Solomon that says that God has specifically put the Israelites and the Jews into exile. So God has taken away your country.
Okay.
He took away the temple. You are a disobedient people. You are being punished.
Okay.
So that's the foundation of their scripture. Okay. And when you go back and try to rebuild your own country, you are directly disobeying God. And in that disobedience, by becoming a Zionist, God is further punishing the Jews.
Interesting. And the only question
Isn't that interesting?
How many of them live in Israel?
So not a lot. I asked them that question.
Yeah.
Yep. I said, how many you, and they're not a huge group, but they protest their own country.
Yeah.
And they refuse to join the army. And in some cases, they've been punished for that. In other cases, Benjamin Netanyahu's just let them. They're kind of like the Amish of the Christian world, right?
Yeah.
So
That
they
makes
are
sense.
so deeply committed to their world, and they end up kind of in their own little enclave. But it's a very unique group of people. Now, the Palestinians don't like them, but they believe that God would protect them from the radical Islamists. Because this is what I asked them. I'm like, these people want you dead.
Yeah.
Like, how do you stand with them when they want you dead? And they said, God will protect us. It is because of our disobedience that we are being killed by these people. So if we just obey the scripture, we don't go back to Zionism, we live in exile until God chooses to bring us back, then things would actually be better for us.
But, that's okay. The only thing that I would look at is, what did they do with the World War II and things there as far as Hitler's behavior? Because
punishment.
I know
punishment.
But the idea was that when they were gathering them up, those people were in exile. They were Jews that were not living in Israel. They were in exile, weren't they?
He makes the argument that it was the rise of Zionism prior to World War II. So there was a small sect that was starting to talk about the idea of Jews having their own country even prior to the kickoff of World War II. And it was because of their disobedience that God punished them using the Germans and Hitler that you have the Holocaust.
Oh. So, again, weirdly enough, I understand where they're protesting, so they would openly give their lives to the Hamas terrorists.
They believe God will protect them. They believe that, I guess and he was showing me like these pictures that the Jews used to live relatively peacefully in Palestine. It wasn't until the creation of Israel that you ended up with all this division that's now taking place.
Yeah, because then we started arguing over whose land it was, because a bunch of European countries and some others decided to come in there and carve and make boundaries that didn't make any sense. So, of course, there are going to be problems. Just like if someone you didn't know came into your neighborhood and said, hey, guess what? We're going to rearrange all the houses. You're like, that's not going to work out well. But the odd thing is the cognitive dissonance of the idea that they feel they're being punished, but then somehow God will save their lives. Hang on. But what happened to all the other people that he didn't save the lives for? How come you've decided? This is the weird part about it. They have decided that they are special inside the group, that they're the group that God is going to save their lives, not the rest of the Jews.
Not necessarily theirs. No, they may die too, but they feel like they are leading Israel back there, kind of a prophetic voice that wants to restore peace. They believe they can save more Jewish lives because God will protect them if they return to the idea of that they are being punished by being in exile and they need to wait upon the Lord.
That's a weird one, especially the idea that we're being punished for it, but now we're going to be saved because of the punishment. And if there is any, I guess
you'll be saved eventually by being obedient.
Yeah. Again, you'd think that if the punishment was there would be some sort of a, hey, you're grounded for this time period or something like that. Or you'd have something about, hey, in order to get out of the punishment, you would do X, Y, or Z. There's been a long time where the Lord could have reached out and said something about that to them and said, here's the path forward. It's weird. I still see that what is weird about that is that they have carved themselves out as the protected group inside of the other group. They're still looking for God. They're still looking for protection. They've just decided that they're the purest form. That happens all the time. It's a really weird play, but okay. Good luck with that.
So they're willing to come on the show. We may be developing a little friendship here. We'll see. But at least you understand why sometimes there's very Orthodox Jews standing with Palestinians out there in the protests. Good conversation. Appreciated that. I enjoy those. I like religious dialogue among our biggest differences. I'm still a Zionist. He didn't bring me over. And the reason why is I believe God works through people. So if you wanted to establish an Israeli state, it's not just going to drop out of this. Here we go. Boom. Here's your state. Yep. I think he works with people. I think God created nations. I think they're good things. They're groups of people that reflect cultures and values. And so the idea of having an Israeli state, that doesn't seem offensive to me.
Yeah. And the other part is, I understand that they feel that God is working, in certain ways, and this is why the punishment. But we can go back into the Old Testament and you look at, Sodom and Gomorrah. You look at the flood and Noah. It seems like if God wants you not to exist as a country, a state, a location, he knows what he's doing. The idea is he's got the power. Yeah, he can take care of that. So the question I have is, if he thinks that you should be dispersed and everything else, why doesn't he just take care of Israel and wipe it off the map? Why doesn't he make sure that the Iranians have the nuclear capability and encourage them to launch the missiles to wipe everybody out? That'd scare everybody. I mean, he flooded the world. He was willing to do that. Why not this? It's an interesting, again, they've still carved themselves out and made them special. And that's the thing that the in the psychology and the cognitive dissonance I got a real issue with how they're coming at this one. But that'd be a fun conversation.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get them on. All right. Want to talk to you all about my friends over at QC Kinetics. Look, pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there's an exciting new cellular therapy that can get you lasting relief. And the place to go, QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. If you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief. Best of all, no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future of medicine, friends. Call for a free consultation now, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986, with locations in Aurora, Superior, Colorado Springs, and Highlands Ranch. This is the question I wanted to get to, and then we got off on some of the other conversations I've been having. But, Billy, Barack Obama, good president, bad president. When you watched his speech, what memory came back to you about his presidency? We are now 8 years removed from it. Did he help Kamala Harris? 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-892-6757, 720-892-6757. All things DNC coming up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy, I'm looking forward to getting back because it's a clown circus here. But you and I are going to have some breakfast together.
Yes,
with
we are
our
headed
friends.
to Doug's Diner. Come on out and see us at Doug's Diner next Tuesday, 18595 East Main Street in Parker. There are a number of wonderful locations at Doug's Diner around our city, but this is the time we're going to be in the one at Parker. It's between Parker Road and 20 Mile, north side of the road. Doug's Diner is an amazing restaurant. They locally source their ingredients. It's like, you know, you had that really good grandma that did the cooking. That's what their chefs create. Unbelievable breakfast burritos. You want the huevos rancheros. They have some pancakes that look absolutely incredible. Things that are just incredible and mouth-watering. Come on out and have fun with us next Tuesday. We're going to be broadcasting live. You can see all the crazy stuff we do. We will even take pictures of you and hang out with you because, Jeff, you're in Chicago right now. And if you're watching us on this morning, I'm having breakfast cake. Someone left cake back in the kitchen. So I'm just reminding people that we will not be eating cake out there at Doug's Diner, but we're absolutely going to break the rules and eat on the air. And I'm just a little jealous that you're getting all the really good food and the recommendations from our listeners. So when I had breakfast cake,
ate at Billy Goat's Tavern yesterday.
I know. How was that? Cheeseburger.
Yeah, the old Saturday Night Live skits. Yeah. Delicious, fantastic.
It's but which one of us has cake right now? I have cake.
That's true. That's
cake.
true.
All right, sorry. Had to tease you.
Doug's Diner next Tuesday, right?
Yeah, coming out and see us. Yeah, we'll be there broadcasting live. I've even heard a rumor we might be able to get the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Blake Olson to join us in public.
I've actually never met him in person.
Yeah, so we may be able to. We're going to have to see. It's kind of a tight schedule. If Blake can arrange it, he will be joining us. Can't promise anything, but yeah, come on out, hang out with us. It's going to be an absolutely fun time. We're going to have breakfast together. Jeff and I are going to eat way too much and try as many things as we can on the menu. We'll talk to people at Doug's, so we'll spend some time talking to you. And the best part about it is just like when we were at a Taste of Douglas County, it's a chance for us to just hang out. When we go to break, Jeff and I are going to come talk to you guys and just hang out with you because we appreciate the fact that you spend a little bit of your time every day with us. And so, yeah, come say hi. We'd love to see you and take silly pictures. You know me. I'll lean into whatever silly picture you got. I got no shame. Yeah, so let's play. Yeah, already. I hope to see everybody.
All right. When 8 o'clock hour, Greg Clugston's going to join us, White House news correspondent for Salem Media Group. But I had all the frustrations of trying to beat Barack Obama come back up yesterday, Billy. And
oh, no. It was like,
because I worked for months and months and months and months to try to stop him in 2012. Yeah. I despise this ordination that follows this guy.
Yeah.
You know, the hope and change and the poster and the idea that this guy is great and he gets the Nobel Peace Prize before he even does anything. And then my mind goes back to him mocking Mitt Romney for saying that Russia was a 1980s foreign policy issue to deal with when it's probably the number 2 biggest foreign enemy we have to deal with right now next to China. You know, how did he handle the economy, calling ISIS a JV team, all that stuff that we had to deal with under the Obama presidency. And it's like washed away. We were right back into Oprah land where everything's great and they wear a soft filter on the camera. And oh my goodness, I did not like seeing him up there. I despise how successful he is in covering a failed presidency, but prove me wrong. We got a lot to talk about. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Yesterday on the main stage of the Democrat National Convention, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, what kind of feelings came back? It has been 8 years since those two occupied the White House. Good feelings, bad feelings. Here's a text message, 8422. I always remember the speech he gave in Denver shortly after winning the election. That was the Greek column speech where he accused the entire nation of being racist. To me, it was a 50-year setback that really hurt this country and somehow justified the behavior we see today. I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Billy, but I do think race relations are worse now. Aren't they? Aren't they worse now?
Then
I'm not necessarily attributing that to Barack Obama, but I think they're declining since his presidency.
I don't know. I'd have to look at what the metrics are. And the only idea that I have that pops up in my head is when people say, well, race relations in the country have been declining. I'm like, yeah, have you seen their timeline? It's not like we've all been hugging each other and holding hands the entire time. So the window of time I'm looking for is, when were we at good race relations? Because, I mean, we've talked about it before that if you're a black man in America, you don't get in a time machine and go past 1975. You do not go further back in history in America because of what you're going to deal with.
Here, you could do a comparative study, though, based on opinion. So here's Gallup. Would you say relations between white and black people are very good, somewhat bad, or very bad? In 2001, black adults said very or somewhat good, 70%.
Okay.
Black adults said it was 70% said very or somewhat good in 2001. And in 2021, it's at 33.
Okay.
So that's nearly a 40-point drop in what black adults would say. Now, among white adults, it was 62% in 2001. It's 43%. So it's a nearly 20-point drop. So in both cases, both black and white feel like race relations has gotten worse since 2000.
Yeah, that is a good metric. And the question would be, what is the cause of that? Is it, and if it is the fact that Barack Obama was the president, then it's a really interesting conversation to have that race relations got worse because a black man got the #1 job in the country. That's a weird.
Do you think
thing
it was
to talk
that,
about.
or do you think, to this texter's point, though, that he inflamed race relations? That if you accuse the whole nation of being racist, it has nothing to do with the fact he got the job, but he used his position to inflame race relations.
Yeah, I would have to go back again. It's been years, and I would have to go back and see what he said in the context. Did he say, America, we are an entirely racist nation? If it is that direct, then we can talk about the context in there. I just do not remember. I remember him being upset about it, but again, I think people that are especially minorities and where they are socioeconomically do have a little bit of a gripe. I do think they do have a complaint based on how things have gone for the previous couple of 100 years. And they didn't get necessarily an equal shot at the beginning of the game. So, yeah, I understand why they're still grouchy about it. I get it, but I have to go back and see if I can find that quote.
Speaking of this, we could get into this with Am I a Racist, the new film coming out with Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
By the way, Matt Walsh was at the DNC yesterday. We'll
tell us about that
and more.
yes.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
In the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on this Wednesday, August 21st. My name is Jeff Hunt. I'm broadcasting live from the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois, location of the 2024 Democrat National Convention. I've been a part of just about everything except for being on the floor of the Democrat National Convention. And the person that can provide that type of analysis for us is Greg Cluxton. Greg's going to be joining us here just in a second, White House correspondent for Salem Radio Network. We'll get a sense of what it was like in the room yesterday, because I was down with the protesters watching them get arrested and put in the paddy wagon. You ever been put in a paddy wagon, Bill?
No, never have. Came close a couple of times. Yeah,
Really?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, the issue is, I used to be able to run fast, so it was not a matter of the escape. I've told people that I don't feel that you've really crested into your male adulthood until you've run from the police at least once. And they only caught me. Oh, geez, my mom's listening. Really? Do you have to do this morning? They only caught me once, and they ended up with a curfew ticket. That was it. That was the only time they caught me. But again, for our listeners, and yes, Mom, for later on, there's some stories. Made the news a couple of times, but yeah, no.
I'm going to get it all out of Billy, yes, Patricia. Don't you worry. Day. I'm getting them all out of Billy. So we're going to talk to Greg Cluxton in just a second, but we're going to continue to cover Michelle Obama's speech, where she blamed about people having too much money. When she gets paid a lot to give a speech, we'll cover that hypocrisy. Plus, Barry Obama was back in the spotlight last night. How did he do? All of this is up for discussion. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 70 and cloudy, and expecting a high of 92 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
In my opinion, she's a Marxist, because if you go back and look at her, what she's done over the years, she's a Marxist. Now, she's changed and flip-flopped on just about everything she believed in life, but she's a Marxist.
Former President Trump up early this morning on Salem Media, continues to work hard on with Hugh.
And if they do, they're foolish, because look, she is a Marxist, radical left, and I can say this, she's a radical left lunatic, and we can't let this person destroy our country. Her ideology is that of a Marxist, maybe worse than that. But if you take a look at what she did, she destroyed San Francisco. She then went on to destroy California. California is not the same place.
Trump says he wants to know more about her father. We don't hear a lot about him, who's a Marxist professor. Here's Kamala Khan 4 years ago, which is frightening to me. This soundbite could cover a lot if you just close your eyes and think about all the possibilities. Do you want this person to be the leader of the free world?
I learned, I think I was, 22 when I started that work. I learned that with the swipe of my pen, I could charge someone with the lowest level offense. And because of the swipe of my pen, that person could be arrested, They could sit in jail for at least 48 hours. They could lose time from work and their family maybe lose their job. They'd have to come out of their own pocket to help hire a lawyer. They'd lose standing in their community, all because of the swipe of my pen.
I don't want her with that power. Here's Harris's husband, Dougie Emhoff, last night at the DNC.
I'm so proud of how you're stepping up for all of us. But that's who she is. Wherever she's needed, however she's needed, Kamala rises to the occasion. And she did it for me and our family.
America's ready for a new chapter. America's ready for a better story. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
Dropping the Y's. Love it. Former President Obama and his wife, the stars of the DNC, Barack said re-electing Donald Trump would be dangerous, while Michelle said Kamala Khan was bringing back hope to America. Barry's speech was pretty predictable. He got them all excited, though.
If we work like we've never worked before, if we hold firm to our convictions, we will elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
They were chanting, do something, like maybe secure the border. And a Democratic Women's Caucus butchering the national anthem last night.
By the dawn's early light, once so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam.
Lord have mercy. A man is in the hospital with serious injuries following an officer-involved shooting in Thornton last night. It happened after officers located a man with an active warrant in a parking lot near East 120th Avenue. The officers approached him and ready to arrest him, but they say he refused to comply and tried to walk away. So they tried to subdue him with a taser, and then he reportedly pulled out a gun, prompting the officers to open fire. The latest data from the online real estate company Redfin says over 11% of Denver homes are now worth at least $1 million. That ranks Denver 16th on the list of cities nationwide. The median sales price for single-family homes is at nearly $640,000, last calculated by the Colorado Association of Realtors in June. The Rockies beat the Nationals 3-1 and back at it today. First pitch at 4:45. 65 in Castle Rock, 67 in Lakewood, and 70 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Thunderstorm activity picks up a bit. Moisture increasing from the southwest means a good chance of thunderstorms. A few strong ones, low 90s today, mid-60s tonight. Storms ending by evening. A little bit cooler, staying in the 80s. Thursday and Friday with afternoon and evening thunderstorms, isolated thunderstorms, and continued warm for the weekend. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. That was
singing.
That was interesting. That reminds me of
You're
that.
being so nice.
That's because you guys are audio
awful.
files. I think you're so much more sensitive than the rest of it. It was bad. No, it was
awful.
bad. It reminds me of that lady from Colorado that recently sung it. Then, all-star game and
she
push
had an
it. For
excuse. She
sure.
was drunk. They're just not good at it. And I love the fact that it was
That's
like
not a good one.
It was like the class core, when you all have to get up there for the, you have to perform in middle school and you're all singing, but not everybody knows the words, because some of them you can hear them drop out and go, Broadway last Friday. Yeah, I'm not saying it was awful singing. I'm just saying that Mark Crowley's dog Riley is here in the studio and started whining. She was hiding and whining, going, make the bad noise stop, Daddy, make the bad noise stop.
That is too
That
funny.
was so bad. Oh, we're going to have to revisit that later. I'm going to have Blake going to hang on to that. We are going to use that throughout the rest of this election cycle. That is going to be wonderful.
Well, I didn't have to listen to that, but somebody that was live in the room at the DNC yesterday was Greg Clugston. He's a White House news correspondent for the Salem Media Group. He joins us each day of the RNC and the DNC to provide us some insight of what it was like to be in the room. Greg, big night. You had Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama. Give us a sense of how the night went for those attending the Democrat National Convention.
Yeah, good morning to you again today from Chicago. When people are talking about the event last night and the speeches, nobody really is talking about Bernie Sanders or Chuck Schumer, to be honest. They're talking about the power couple of Barack and Michelle Obama, because they are rock stars in the Democratic Party. There's no getting around that. And they are a power couple, and they delivered for the Democrats last night in a very, very strong way. So the place was pretty pumped to have them. It's interesting. The Obamas, they have a very strained relationship with Donald Trump going back more than a dozen years. Because you had Donald Trump before he was getting into politics, questioning where Barack Obama was born and whether he would even be qualified to run for the presidency. So there's a lot of personal back and forth there that was sort of kind of coming out in their speeches, both of their speeches last night. I don't know whether it was whether it was actually a revenge tour or not, but they did some hard skewering at the same time, saying that, hey, this is time for a new chapter in American politics. And what was interesting is, I think it was Barack Obama who was maybe the only person who mentioned Joe Biden's name from the platform last night, just one night after Biden himself was there. And so the page definitely has been turned. The torch has been passed, whatever symbolism you want to use. They quickly turned that page from Monday to Tuesday here at the DNC.
Now, I want to ask you about, I was watching it live, what seemed like kind of a bizarre break around the 7 o'clock hour, where they seemed to rush through an entire hour of activity early in the 6 o'clock hour. And then at about 6:28, they finished up their entire hour of speakers and went they kind of stalled, went to blank programming for about 30 minutes. Did you notice that in there?
I did. I turned to one of my colleagues in the press box and I said, it sounds like they're stalling. They're filling time here because the house band kept playing song after song, and there wasn't any person speaking from the platform. There wasn't any video message that was showing on the Jumbotron. I never got an answer as to what the delay was, what the interruption in the schedule was. Obviously, the night before, Monday, as we talked about yesterday, they were running way behind schedule. They had to cut speakers. They cut James Taylor off the schedule, as we talked about yesterday. So they attempted to start about 30 minutes earlier the evening program, and then they had that sort of, interlude there for however many minutes it was before they continued. And they seemed to, once they continued, they seemed to be on track, at least for what they put out for their printed schedule for the rest of the night.
That's what I tracked as well. So let's talk about the roll call, and then we'll get to the Obamas a little bit later. Now, this roll call is something a little unique. It's a parliamentary procedure to make sure that you have the votes necessary that somebody can become the nominee. And if this was held at a state convention, Elbert County would just get up and say, well, we've got, so-and-so votes for this. But with all the production, all the national attention, they brought out rappers. Spike Lee was there, Gavin Newsom, all the big stars, and they kind of go from state to celebrate them. What was it like in the room at that moment when they went state by state to make sure they had the votes to have Kamala be the nominee?
Yeah, this was a really unique twist on the roll call. Now, I have to say that at these national conventions for a number of presidential cycles, minus the music, minus the rap, minus the DJ mix and all the rest, going state by state and having key figures from those delegations give their support, kind of a shout out to their state, and then also a shout out to whoever the nominee is, and saying that they give their their votes to the nominee. That happens. It happened in Milwaukee 4 weeks ago, and what happened is that usually those roll calls, which are sort of dry, not necessarily entertaining television, unless you're just a real political diehard, they often take place in the afternoon. And that's what happened at the RNC. It was an afternoon roll call, and that's pretty typical. But what happened was, and partly why they did something different this time, I think, is because the virtual roll call that took place a couple of weeks ago was the official roll call of delegates for Kamala Harris and the DNC. And so this was symbolic. This is ceremonial. It was a celebratory version of the roll call. So they rolled out the music, and I have to say they basically played a song to represent each state and territory for each delegation, which was really kind of fun. I mean, as somebody who has been in radio his whole career, and I started off playing music as a DJ, like a lot of us did probably. It's fun to hear a lot of the different music and what the selections were. Now, did you pick out the song for Colorado?
I did not pick out the song, but I did note, because I didn't know what song it was, but I did notice that it was not John Denver, which was the lost opportunity they have. John Denver is your go-to. Rocky Mountain High. You could even do a rap version of it or whatever. I'm not sure what the song was, but I did notice, for Atlanta, Georgia, they brought in Little John. So you had some celebrities there too.
Oh, yeah. Celebrities. Sean Astin, he was the actor who played Rudy in the movie. He was there with the Indiana delegation. Getting back to Colorado, it was the song September by Earth, Wind, and Fire, which is a great song. Philip Bailey, a member of the group, I think was born in Colorado. That's the connection, as I understand it.
But
that's
you're right.
like
Billy level trivia right there.
Yeah. When Greg Clugston, our national White House correspondent for Salem Media, joined us, when you were talking about the idea of checking out a song for each state, I do bar trivia, and oftentimes I will pick songs that will refer back to what the right answer is. I did one recently. You play Hungry Like the Wolf when you're doing Wolf of Wall Street. My own personal high point, I think, was it was a question about geography in a certain region and of the Middle East. And basically, I reached way back into the 80s and played Flock of Seagulls, I Ran So Far Away, because the region of the country was Iran. But again, I'm a dork.
I love that. And that's a great song as well.
Oh, it is. And September is fantastic. I'm going to geek for a moment because they super tuned almost every single instrument. If you go in and you go down, the bongos are tuned to play specific notes. They really went over the top as far as production. They didn't have computers do all the fancy stuff we do now to fix all your problems. They had to actually do it right.
And to get back to the John Denver reference, we did hear John Denver. It just didn't happen during the Colorado delegation. They did it for West Virginia because of his song Country Roads.
Yeah.
He's ours. I'm still claiming him. But so you have the roll call. They then get into a number of speeches, and it was a lively crowd, an energetic crowd throughout the evening. And then you get to the Obamas. Let's start first with Michelle Obama. Give people a sense of what she talked about.
One of the first things she said when she came onto the stage is she talked about, hey, there's something happening here. Like she was referring to the vibe that has been talked about with this Harris campaign. And she did a throwback to her husband's first campaign, which could be described with one word, and that was hope. the Hope campaign. Remember the Hope poster with Barack Obama? And that was a central theme to his candidacy. And she said that there's something similar happening around the excitement surrounding the Harris-Walz ticket that resembles hope. And she said, America, hope is making a comeback, which is really interesting because they're coming off of a Biden-Harris 4-year administration, as if to say there's been no hope even these last 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can understand why she went there, given her husband's candidacy and hope. But you have to wonder if there's how that was being received by the Biden camp, for example.
Or the general public. There was a great interview that took place on CNN that's going viral right now, where they pointed out that 12 of the last 16 years have been controlled at the White House by Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris. This is not a chapter that we need to move on from, because you were the chapter. But I'm not so sure that the voters understand that. I'm not sure it gets across them, because it seems like the point that they're making is that this is the dawning of a new era, and people aren't asking that critical question.
Yeah, whether they're asking those critical questions or not is interesting, because the reception, of course, and it's going to be well received, obviously, at a DNC convention for these kinds of speeches. But what's interesting about Michelle Obama is that she's never really sought the political spotlight. I think she was in many ways a reluctant first lady at first, but she has grown into the role of understanding as a former first lady and all the rest. But she, everybody talks about the great ability, speaking ability, oratory of Barack Obama, and he is a gifted communicator. But she is no slouch either. She and even Barack Obama joked when he came on stage, saying he was the only person stupid enough to follow Michelle Obama's speech, because it was rousing for this crowd and perhaps for those watching as well. So she delivered, and it was really a 1-2 punch between the two.
And look, if I was a Democrat strategist, I think generally people have a positive view of the Obama years now. I don't, as a conservative, but I think a lot of people look back on those years relatively positively. And so to be able to tie Obama or to Harris back to those days, to build that bridge. But to your point, it's kind of like they're skipping over the Biden years, which, Kamala was a part of. So it's just interesting to me. All right, now let's pivot to Barack Obama, the closing speaker of the night. One thing that Bill and I were talking about in the previous hour was Republicans aren't going back to their previous administrations. There's no George W. Bush speaking. Mitt Romney didn't have a speaking role at this RNC convention either. But Democrats seem to like to build those bridges back to the past.
That's a really good point, and I was noting something along those lines in covering the Republican debates during the primary, and that there were fewer and fewer references to for example, to like the Ronald Reagan years and that wing of the party, and I think a big reason for this is because the GOP has been remade in the image of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement really over these last 8 years or so, in a way that has really kind of crowded out more of the, if you want to call it, the establishment wing or establishment section of the Republican Party. Certainly, there are still people who have who are card-carrying members of the Republican Party, but maybe aren't exactly on the MAGA bandwagon or whatever. But they have been sort of pushed off to the side a little bit. And I think that was reflective in the RNC convention last month in Milwaukee. And it is an interesting contrast between the two parties and how they call the elders of their party to come and represent the current nominees.
Probably no greater elder in the Democrat Party right now than Barack Obama. A lot of our listeners even think Barack is still pulling a lot of the strings in the Biden-Harris administration. Give me a sense of what Barack Obama spoke about last night.
Right. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, he was really the only main speaker yesterday who mentioned Joe Biden's name. on the stage, and he did so early on. He paid tribute to his former vice president, and he said that he was proud to call him his president as well as his friend. So he did give him kind of his due last night as the sitting president who is exiting the race and the campaign at the end of his term here. But then it was when Barack Obama and he said the words. A lot of us have been saying it in the news media, and talking about how this is a change for the political party, for the Democrats. But he used that phrase. But now we have the torch has been passed, is what he said, and then that's when he made that pivot. And he not only went after Donald Trump and talking about what he has done, at least from his viewpoint, about how he believes civic life has worsened, and the kind of the coarseness and the ugliness of politics and all the rest. And then he shifted from that into obviously talking about what we've been talking about here in just the last few moments of connecting the hope of his campaign to what he sees as the newfound enthusiasm with the Harris campaign. So it was kind of a two-pronged approach. The other thing I would just say about the Obamas, both of their speeches, which I thought was really interesting, is no matter how much of a sugar high Democrats are on this week, and there's no question that, they're flying pretty high right now, especially compared to how they thought they might be, feeling 4 or 5 weeks ago after the rousing GOP convention. Both of the Obamas were very clear in their speeches about telling Democrats they cannot be complacent, that this is going to be and remains a very close and competitive race. And they were saying there is a lot of work to do. So they were kind of injecting a dose of political reality for the people as they're in a party atmosphere to say, hey, we got to keep our eye on the ball.
Now, Greg Clugston, that is a very interesting insight, something that I caught in Barack's speech as well last night. Greg Clugston joining Jeff and Bill live. He is the national White House correspondent for Salem Media. We're so happy that he gives us some time because he's out there running around getting all the important interviews. In the early portion of the Barack speech, he got booed when he mentioned Trump, and he said, "Don't boo, vote." That's exactly the message you were talking about, that he was telling them, no, you can be all emotional, you can get this, but you still have a job to do. And they were pushing that narrative. Now, I wanted to explore a little bit of a different narrative with you, Greg, for a sec. I want to talk about the feeling when you're wandering around the DNC. When we're on TV, everybody's super happy, super excited. I have been reading some interesting critiques behind the scenes that reporters walking around are saying, while it looks good on camera, there is a lot of frowny faces behind the scenes with DNC attendees. Is that your experience, or is there a lot of effervescence? Is what we see on camera the same thing that you're seeing when the cameras get turned off at the event?
Well, it's probably a little of both, is my guess. I think people are genuinely happy about the convention. They're excited about this ticket. Look, polls have been showing for a long time before Joe Biden said that he was dropping out of the race, that there was deep concern, not just among the general American voting public, but especially among Democrats, that they were very concerned about Biden's age, his viability of a campaign going forward, whether he was really the person that should be at the top of the ticket. And so there is this sense of relief and this new energy around Harris. So there's no denying that. Whether this speaks to the ticket and the country moving forward or whatever, I was in a conversation after the convention last night with a couple of delegates who were trying to get back to their hotel. They were delegates from Missouri, and they had their badges, they had their credentials, and they were not allowed to get on the shuttle buses to go back to the delegate hotels. And this was the second night in a row. And so they were complaining to my colleague and to me at midnight out on the street, saying that this is a poorly run and disorganized convention in a lot of ways, that was not being seen or heard on the television or the radio broadcasts nationwide, but was affecting them. And it wasn't like they were just bystanders or people off the street wanting to get a glimpse of what was happening. They were delegates representing their districts from their home state as members of the Democratic Party. I don't know if that answers your question specifically, but things like that do bubble up, and how people are personally affected does affect how they view things on the larger scale.
Yeah, and their enthusiasm when they go back home. Those delegates from Missouri may, since they aren't energized based on their personal experience there, may not pick up that phone as often. They might not walk the neighborhoods as often. They may not stop at the grocery store as often and talk to people about their candidate. Yeah, good insight.
Yeah, it's hard to know what they'll take home. But if somebody asks them about their experience in Chicago, they might lead with the problem about the shuttle bus as opposed to talking about what the Obama speech was like.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, the United Center is out there. I was riding a little electric scooter around last night just as everyone got out, and I thought about doing some interviews, and I realized if I got off that electric scooter, I ain't getting it back, and it's a long walk back to the city. So I understand how that could be painful for folks. Greg Clugston, White House news correspondent for the Salem Media Network. Last question, Greg. Give us a preview of what we're going to see tonight at the Democrat National Convention.
One of the Republican Party's favorite targets is going to be on the stage tonight, Nancy Pelosi.
Boy.
The Fox crowd and the MAGA crowd, they're going to be zeroing in on someone. And of course, what's interesting, the reason I mentioned her, and there are going to be some other speakers, former President Bill Clinton, talking about reaching back into the past and having elder statesmen of the Democratic Party. Bill Clinton, who has been a staple at these Democratic conventions for years, he is going to be the headline speaker tonight. The headline speaker right before the vice presidential acceptance speech from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. He will close out the evening tonight. But you've got Pelosi speaking, and it's interesting because this all has to do with the Joe Biden decision. And there's been a lot of back and forth as to exactly what Nancy Pelosi's role was behind the scenes. We do know that she, before Biden dropped out of the race, that she was kind of giving some cryptic comments publicly about, and she wasn't completely endorsing Joe Biden to stay in the race. And it's quite clear that and Joe Biden, when he left Chicago here Monday night, he even told reporters that he has not spoken to the former speaker over the last 4 or 5 weeks. So there seems to be some bad blood there. We'll see and of course we saw Nancy Pelosi on the floor with the California delegation during the Biden speech holding up the "We Love Joe" sign. So we'll have to see what her speech is like tonight. But obviously it's Tim Walz's night. He's the Minnesota governor. It'll be a chance again, probably before the largest TV audience that will see him in this election cycle, to introduce himself to the country. He does have a progressive record as a governor in Minnesota, and he's had some comments that have come under some fresh scrutiny about his military service and rank and retirement and his family decisions when it comes to fertility. And so there's been a lot of fresh scrutiny here, and it'll be interesting to see as what his take is when he takes the stage here tonight.
Greg Clugston joining us every day this week at 8 a.m. He's the National White House correspondent for Salem Media Network, providing analysis of what's happening at the Democrat National Convention. Great reporting, Greg. We'll look forward to your thoughts tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Looking forward to it, Jeff and Bill. Have a great day.
Hey, I want to talk to you about another great guy, my friend Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law.
So much with you, sir.
Dan suggests
Thank
that
you.
you
Appreciate
should.
that. Didn't push the right button.
I'm glad you're telling Greg. We appreciate him. That's great. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. That means if you show up with one of those billboard, ambulance chasing, ditch chasing attorneys, well, that's not going to send a strong message. You need somebody with strong values. I've known Dan for well over a decade. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He's the son of a police officer who spent the last 40 years of his life helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But most importantly, Dan gets it done. He's a winner. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplan's law is so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplan's law is a serious firm for serious cases, not only reserved for the rich and wealthy. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankapluslaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show live from the DNC.
News Talk 710 KNUS. See, that's the time I have to have my mic on.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, covering all things Democrat National Convention live from Chicago. I'm looking right now. Fox News has our governor, the great libertarian.
We found him. It's like, where's Waldo?
Oh, my gosh. I love Dana Perino, but this bizarre friendship that struck up between the two of them is going to kill us. But look, Billy.
Yeah.
I've got to point something out right now.
Yeah, please.
There has not been a Coloradan on the main stage of the Democrat National Convention. I bring this up all the time because I saw it in 2020 when you had John Hickenlooper and Michael Bennet both run for president, and the nation went, who?
Yeah. Like what?
They don't translate. It's the most interesting thing to me. I feel like maybe God might be protecting our country from these crazy libs that have destroyed the state of Colorado, that they don't somehow get to the national stage. Now, I could be wrong. You might see him on stage today.
Yeah,
but
I think you're right. I think the only one that's made in recent memory, and again, it's a little not necessarily recent, has made a decent transition nationally would be Ben Nighthorse Campbell. Only based on having a national platform and being that kind of a character inside of Congress. But even then, that's a real stretch of someone that has been able to escape the gravitational pull of Colorado. And I'm just impressed. We got, Governor Polis is talking to the people on the Fox News channel, and I'm impressed that his pass worked. They let him in the building because I wasn't convinced that he was even let in the building because we've never seen him. And the fact is, I haven't even seen him doing anything with any of the local stations, and that's kind of an issue too. That this is not the spotlight that someone with his desires, and you and I both know he wants that 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue address badly, and that's why he's on Fox News this morning, is because he needs the attention. He's not getting it.
Yep, that is exactly right. Speaking of somebody getting attention, though, at the DNC, Matt Walsh, undercover. All right,
good.
So Billy.
Yeah, please. This is so good. And it's wonderful because you've got an inside track, and so you get what they're doing and nobody else is. So you're in on the joke. You got to share this with everybody.
So the other day I got a secret screener, which is an advanced viewing of a film that's about to come out called Am I Racist? Okay.
So exciting. And we are going to push the heck out of this thing because it is poking at the absurdity of assuming racism. The people involved in this movie start with the premise of you, our listeners, me, and Jeff are all racist. And it's your fault.
Our core.
Yes,
to our core.
There's nothing we can do about it. Yeah,
America is racist to its core.
Yeah, and so they're going to point this out.
Matt Walsh goes on this like Borat-like journey. So he starts by asking himself, am I a racist? And so he decides to attend a liberal group that gets together to talk about how bad our racism is in this country. And they won't even let him get through it. They realize who he is about 10, 15 minutes into the event. Everybody gets hostile. All these liberals like cross their arms. One guy is like, walk out with me, and tries to escort him out. They won't even have him in the room.
Which again, just as a pause there, just to put a pin right there. The liberals, the ones that say we should be understanding, compassionate, and talk to people we disagree with, decide to get hostile and not talk to the person they disagree with. This is why this movie is going to be awesome. Okay, sorry, continue.
So then he goes, well, maybe I'll just go buy a bunch of books. So he goes up to a Boulder library and he buys all these books. And one of the funniest things, it is pure comedic genius, is there is a book titled With the N-Word. And so he's standing there going, can I get this book? What's the name of the book? And the person who is about as white, blue-eyed, fair-skinned, like right out of Norway, selling the book is so conflicted as to whether or not she could say the name of the book.
That's great.
Like it's the title of it.
So
and they're both going back and forth. By the way, you got to stay past the credits because at the very end, he calls the bookstore in Boulder back up and tries to describe the book.
Oh my God!
And it's like a Who's on First type of skit. It's hilarious.
That's great.
So he goes and gets all these books, and then he decides he needs to be certified as a DEI expert. But since nobody will allow him into their courses, he goes undercover and he gets a man bun, and he models himself after the professor in What Is a Woman that was at the University of Tennessee that was just a crazy progressive. He literally copies the jacket, the shoes, the tight pants. He gets the man bun.
Yes.
And then Matt goes on this journey of becoming a DEI expert
and
to understand if he's a racist.
Yeah, and that's hilarious too, because it shines a light on some of the just rank open BS that had to do with DEI professionals. Just how that some of what they were doing and coming in as an expert was nothing more than a scam. And he does a great job outlining exactly how it happens because of how easy it is for him to become an expert.
So he becomes this progressive DEI expert.
good.
He has this little card. He confronts people that are like skateboarding to ask them about their inherent whiteness and how they're combating it. He goes to a biker's bar and talks to those guys about, decentralizing their whiteness, and just the hilariousness ensues over all this. But he has a character. He has a shtick. It's a man with a man bun. He's got the glasses. He's got the long hair. He wears the tight pants. And he's now this progressive DEI guy. Well, guess who was spotted walking around the DNC on the floor yesterday?
Who was it?
It was Matt Walsh and his little progressive DEI costume.
I can't wait to see and hear more. That is fantastic. That is so good.
In fact, there's even one moment where he walks behind Chuck Schumer while he's being interviewed in CNN. He put himself right there. So he's totally Borating the DNC. And if you didn't know Borat, this was Sacha Cohen, who would dress up as this guy from Eastern Europe and stumble through real life scenarios as kind of a buffoon from Eastern Europe.
For the greater glory of Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan, that's right. And so now he's Matt Walsh is doing this to the Democrats. I don't know what type of content they got, but social media was afire yesterday with the idea that Matt Walsh had been trolling the DNC. It was wandering around in the background.
It's so good. And we're going to have we'll have conversations with him, and we'll hook you up with the movie. We're going to try to do some stuff special here at the station with it. And maybe we can get some conversations about what happened behind the scenes and how Matt was welcomed into the fold when they thought that he was one of them. I bet it's going to be fascinating. I'm so excited.
It is great. Billy, tell us about Balanced Well Space.
Yeah, there are things that you're seeing at the DNC that can cause you a little pain, a little agita. I feel your pain, to go a little Clinton on you. But what I mean by that is I understand living your daily life in pain. That's where I was just a few months ago. I did some really dumb things to my body when I was younger. It was all the idea of, hey, that's something older Bill is going to have to pay for. Well, now older Bill is here, and it sucks. I'm waking up in pain most of my days, and it's on a level of, somewhere between 4 and 6. I just thought that's what happens when you get old. It's just about figuring out how you deal and live with the pain. It doesn't have to be that way. I have found an amazing medical team at Balance Well Space. It's a brand new office in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2. Beautiful parking lot, lots of shady trees, so easy to find. The difference is integrative medicine. Balance Well Space has a different philosophy than what you're used to. They're going to make sure that the treatments you need are all under one roof. Imagine the different doctors that you go see. Instead, you visit Balance Well Space once, and they take care of your chiropractic needs, your neuropathy, your physical rehabilitation. They get you wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections. There's a list that is so long, it would take me the next couple of minutes to read. Plus, they have some amazing advanced modalities, stuff that is just coming out of FDA testing, hasn't been approved yet, but is showing amazing results. Dr. Julie's philosophy is, if it's working and we see the results, why do I need to wait for that approval? That's a decision that you and she can make based on the potential treatment and what you're comfortable with. That's it. That's how easy this is. Go see Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, Sarah, B, Christy, the entire team, because they will sit down with you, ask you about what hurts, and then most importantly, what is it you're not doing? How is this pain, your neuropathy, the problems you're having in the back, the shoulder, the neck, like I am, what's it preventing you from doing? And how do we get you there? Then they go to work. They put together a custom treatment plan that is tailored for your needs and your goals. After that, you get the work done. Here's the cool thing. It's one visit. Rather than going to different doctor offices throughout your entire week, taking up all that time, you get it done in one shot. And the doctors regroup every couple of weeks and reevaluate. I've undergone a couple of reevaluations already. They move you around, they poke and prod. I have more than 30 degrees of added movement in my right hip that is pain-free. I thought it was just something that's going to hurt from now on. Turns out it's because the bottom two vertebrae in my back are fusing. Not cool. But now my hip doesn't hurt because they're fixing the other stuff. That's what they can do for you. Go check them out online, balancewellspace.com. balancewellspace.com. Brand new offices in Lowry. It's integrative medicine right across the street from Hangar 2. Super easy to find. Visit them at balancewellspace.com. I want them to make the changes in your life that they are making in mine. And tell them you heard about it here on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
We'll continue with the show. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, I just said this. News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Adam put up the image of Matt Walsh on the YouTube channel. If you missed any of it there, that's to me. It's so easy to see Matt Walsh. I don't know how people are fooled by this, but apparently they are.
Yeah, they are. They probably haven't seen his movies. They probably saw I don't want to listen to that stuff. So yeah, they'll just ignore him, which is to his advantage. Plus, I love the fact that he's taken on the persona of the professor that was such a pain in the rear end of the first one. That is just so smart. So smart. Yes. He's camouflaging himself just like the octopuses do in the ocean. Absolutely.
By the way, we did interview the director, Justin, on this, and it is a hilarious film. So you can go back and listen to that on the podcast. So when we come back, we'll continue to cover the Democrat National Convention. You're not going to want to miss it. Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hans, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. And especially this weekend, the smelly crazy, which is where I am, Chicago, Illinois, at the Democrat National Convention, actually hanging out more with the protesters outside than the people inside. So it's an interesting experience for me. But I want to get into this in this hour, Billy.
Yeah.
Because I'm concerned. And last night, watching Barry Obama and Michelle speak, all the 2012 feelings came back, and I was deeply involved. Deeply involved. I mean, I worked 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Managing the coalition effort for Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan in Colorado in 2012 in an effort to try to stop Barack Obama. And we just got run over. And you arguably had a guy that probably was one of the most successful executives in American history, right? He saved the Olympics. He had a JD from Harvard. He had an MBA from Harvard. When it came to talented executives, as much as how you hate Mitt Romney and where he's gone since then, in 2012, he was the Republican nominee, and he lost to Barack Obama because of one thing and one thing only, and it was on full display last night.
Yes, and that is
likability.
Oh,
they just like the guy.
Yeah, he won on vibes.
He won on vibes. Let's go back to 2008, and then I'll get to Blake Olson here in the news in just a second. Here's a guy that was a state senate community organizer, state senator, U.S. senator, incredibly progressive, went to a church that condemned America.
Yeah. And shout out to George that reminded us he was a state senator there in Chicago.
That's exactly right.
Appreciate him. Yeah.
This is a guy that reminds me so much of Kamala's background. The guy literally just went from college to government. That's exactly what Kamala had. There's no private sector experience there other than she worked at McDonald's. She went from college to government. And I'm watching Republicans go, she's the most progressive senator we've ever had. I'm like living 2008 and 12 all over again. Those are the same arguments they made against Barack Obama. He's the most progressive senator. Did you know that?
How'd that work out?
That's my point.
Yes,
that's my point.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, everybody knows we're running people that have no experience, no track record, no success. A guy that laughed in Mitt Romney's face at the threat of Russia, right? Was given, and you get into this bizarro world of we're going to give you a Nobel Peace Prize before you're ever even president of the United States and do anything.
Yeah.
It's the same operation. I'm sitting there watching last night going, the same people are running the same scam on America. It is this Oprah Winfrey. Everyone is in a filter. Happy, 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 inspiring speeches. But if you're an actual analyst on the results of his leadership or Kamala Harris's leadership, looking at San Francisco, California, her role as vice president of the United States, there's no there. There's no track record of success. And we're just going to elect her because of likability. And I got to wonder what Trump is doing right now.
Now, Jeff, what I want to talk about after we get to Blake Olson's news and what I want to hear from you and also listeners is, are the Republicans repeating the same mistakes that led to Obama winning? Are they going back to the same arguments and hoping they'll hit this time when they already have experience saying it didn't work when you had a similar situation? Yeah, there's that phrase about doing something over and over again and expecting different results.
Well, and you had 5 weeks ago, you had a Democrat nominee that was so old and feeble and pathetic that just about anybody could beat him.
Yeah.
And now I swear to you, I can sense it. It is like the old Obama team is back with the whole branding operation, pulling the whole thing together to get an unknown, unsuccessful candidate across the finish line, because the low information voter is going to look at happy Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and they're just going to go, I'm going to go with the happy person. I'm terrified that that's happening again, but let's talk about it. Feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-892-6757. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff. Yeah, that's kind of what Trump talked about this morning. I mean, neither of them have been vetted. I mean, Obama really still hasn't been vetted, and I don't think Harris has as well. So that's an issue.
And I'm afraid it's just not going to matter. You get into this world of The View, of Oprah, of happy suburban women that feel compelled and motivated to change history because we're going to vote for someone based upon their skin color. And you can sit there with the stats and go one by. Barack Obama was not a successful president on foreign policy, on the economy. Right now, I just looked this up on Obamacare. I just asked ChatGPT, what was the average premium health insurance payment per year in 2008 versus 2024? Okay. Yeah. The average family in 2008 paid $12,000 per year for their health insurance premium. It has doubled to $24,000 in 12 years. He was not a successful president. You look last night, and that does not matter because the whole infrastructure, the whole game, the whole media gets behind this guy and puts him on a pedestal, does the little halo. And they're going to do the same thing to Kamala Harris, and we're going to watch this country get railroaded all over again.
Well, I think it's a little easier with Obama. I'll be kind of surprised if they're able to do it with her, but I agree with you totally. And I heard a woman on the street interview this morning. I don't know if it was you guys or I don't know. I think I heard it. And there's a lady talking about she's a working class woman just like me. And I'm like, who are you talking about? So, they're going to paint her to be everyone's every person hero.
And Blake, the question's going to be Thursday night. Can she match Obama's delivery? Because he did a fine job. He's a great speaker. That's part of the problem.
I don't agree with you. I think everyone says that. I don't like listening to him talk. I think he's phony. It's just phony.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Really?
But
come on. No, I get you. But most people think he's a great speaker. He does
this like aerated. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it's ethereal, where he speaks to the upper rafters, calling us to the highest points of our humanity.
Yes, and Kamala's doing what he does. He turns to the right, for example, and he shakes his head up and down, and he stares off into the sunset, or maybe someone on the 123rd row, and he has this serious look, and then he turns. It's so phony. It's a joke. I don't like it, but most people think he's a great speaker. Good for him. He's a fraud. Anyone who says that there's not American exceptionalism, I'm not down with them. All right, 77 and a little cloudy, beautiful outside, gorgeous morning. Expecting a high of 92 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
In my opinion, she's a Marxist because if you go back and look at her, what she's done over the years, she's a Marxist. Now, she's changed and flip-flopped on just about everything she believed in life, but she's a Marxist.
Former President Trump up early this morning on Salem Media with Hewitt.
I was mentioned at the Democrats' little party that they have going on in Chicago, and it's pretty sad. I just heard that many people were shot during that, and 5 people were killed already in Chicago during this convention. That just came out, that number, which is shocking. But they don't talk about that. But I was mentioned, I think, almost 200 times, and they mentioned the economy about 5 times. They mentioned the border, maybe none. Mentioned crime, almost none. So, they're out of control. These people are out of control. They're ruining our nation. Our nation is going to hell. And we have millions of people coming in haplessly, coming in from all over the world, from parts unknown, from countries people never even heard of.
Trump says he wants to know more about Harris's father, who's a Marxist professor. Once again, here's Kamala 4 years ago, and it's frightening when you think about this person possibly becoming the leader of the free world.
I learned, I think I was, 22 when I started that work. I learned that with the swipe of my pen, I could charge someone with the lowest level offense. And because of the swipe of my pen, that person could be arrested. They could sit in jail for at least 48 hours. They could lose time from work, and their family maybe lose their job. They'd have to come out of their own pocket to help hire a lawyer. They'd lose standing in their community, all because of the swipe of my pen.
Podcaster Tim Pool, that is, he has a contact, and it may be something, maybe nothing, but we have to think about this. Anything is possible.
President Trump will 100% be sentenced to prison on September 18th. I'm told the sentence will be 1 year, but we'll see. The Marxist judge could change the sentencing at the last minute, but he's definitely sentencing President Trump to at least 1 year. Rikers Island already has special accommodations ready. This is 2 months before the election. This has got 3.1 million views. I don't know what his source is. This guy is just, he's a contractor. He's a philanthropist.
CIA whistleblower.
Is that what he says? CIA, NSA contractor, whistleblower, Intel Ops.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's probably got some sources, but it is all rumors right now. Yeah. However, Hannah Claire made a good point. Kamala's not committing to any dates past September 10th for a debate because she maybe knows something Trump doesn't.
And Judge Mersham, anything. You can't trust any of these people.
America's ready for a new chapter. America's ready for a better story. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
Yeah, okay. Former President Obama and his wife got all wee-weed up last night at the DNC.
If we work like we've never worked before, if we hold firm to our convictions, we will elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
Tim No Walls, Just Ladder Factories, speaks tonight. Can't wait for that. Going to talk about growing up in Nebraska and trying to fake everybody out on that one. He's a nut job.
Because we know there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. Mind your own damn business.
He needs to join these ladies and try to sing the national anthem.
By the dawn's early light, once so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam.
What a freak show in Chicago.
Have they heard the song before?
No, I don't think so. What were they trying to sing?
I don't know.
I mean, a
national anthem.
60s, yeah, some 60s ballad or something.
Yeah, it was Give Peace a Chance that they were trying to do.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that was it.
It was
Yes.
Give Peace a Chance.
That's what they were doing.
That's it,
Yes.
man. I love it. For those of you who think Colorado is feeling especially hot this summer, they're right. A new study ranks the state third for having the most extreme heat days at almost 18. This comes as several cities are dealing with temperatures above normal for this time of year. Some will be back to almost triple digits today, but nowhere close to the hottest day ever. That was 5 years ago on July 20th when temperatures soared to 115 degrees at the John Martin Dam. The Rockies beat the Nationals 3-1, back at it today once again at 4:45 in Washington. 76 in Lone Tree, 75 in Louisville, and 77 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Have a great Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Thunderstorm activity picks up a bit. Moisture increasing from the southwest means a good chance of thunderstorms. A few strong ones, low 90s today, mid-60s tonight. Storms ending by evening. A little bit cooler, staying in the 80s. Thursday and Friday with afternoon and evening thunderstorms, isolated thunderstorms, and continued warm for the weekend. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, live from Chicago Democrat National Convention, covering all the details both inside and outside. Greg Clugston, White House correspondent for Salem, inside, and then I am outside hanging out with the stinky little protesters. We'll see what they're up to today and what type of damage they want to do. So far, treated press okay. They like us. I guess covering and making sure they get their pictures taken.
Exactly. if you don't get to take pictures of the chaos, there's no point to be there. It's, if the tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to cover it. Yeah, so of course they're going to like you. Yeah.
But I did call my wife yesterday as I left Chicago. I was like, I need to get one of those press things.
Yes,
those flak jackets. That's the next step. Never thought I'd find myself in this point in my career, but I'm having a ton of fun. So having to get a flak jacket.
Love that.
So Bill, I lost to Barack Obama in 2012.
Yeah.
I was on the Romney team. I was director of coalitions for the state of Colorado. And I want to take out the Romney frustration, anger. Because, look, that's a guy that, I remember talking to one major donor. It's like, well, which Mitt Romney am I talking to today? The pro-choice governor of Massachusetts or the pro-life Republican nominee? He is absolutely a guy that just changes whatever his position needs to be to win. That was I read. I even talked to a guy who did his biography, and that's who Mitt Romney is. And so he's fluffy and squishy.
Yeah. On a side note, that was also one of my huge critiques of both the Clintons. I felt they were only talking to you based on what they felt you wanted to hear.
Exactly.
I just felt that about them all the time, just slimy. Yeah.
And now, he marched in BLM protests and, Mitt Romney is anti-Trump. I totally disagree with that. But the dude lost in 2012. And one of the reasons we lost is that we came with facts. And I remember this. We would host these rallies with business leaders because Barack Obama's going out there saying, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. And then we would have the big, well, we did build it. Entrepreneurialism has built this country and we celebrated that. And we brought in business leaders and all that. And I thought on just about every policy issue, we beat Barack Obama. The threat that Russia was to the global order, right? Remember, he laughed. He mocked Mitt Romney to his face. What is this, the 1980s foreign policy? Okay. This guy was radically pro-choice. He was horrible on foreign affairs when it came to Iran, dealing with Iran and Israel and ISIS, referred to ISIS as a JV team. Billy, you and I disagree on Obamacare, but the average premium for the household has gone up. There was so much you could go at Barack Obama for his failed leadership and lack of experience and divisive nature. America's not exceptionalist, all that type of stuff. And at the end of the day, it's like this visceral gut reaction that a certain portion of the electorate has towards somebody where they just either like you or they don't. They don't get into the policies. And Benny Johnson was walking around the streets of Chicago asking people why they were voting for Kamala Harris and what she had achieved to earn their vote. And they just kind of stumbled. And one guy says, well, don't put this on. It walks away. I'm a proud Kamala. Well, why? And just kind of walks away. Okay. So you have a portion of the electorate that's just so kind of gut oriented on their votes that they can't even express why they're supporting somebody policy wise. And when I saw the Obamas last night, I went, crap. The same team. It's the same team. And I'm not making the argument that Barack Obama's pulling all the strings behind Kamala Harris. It's the promotion and marketing team. It's the people that write the speeches.
Now,
it's
here's
the
why you're
people
right.
that do the commercials. It's all that. Go ahead.
I got one name for you. In fact, that you're right, because I don't believe that Barack and Michelle are behind the scenes pulling all the strings, because they're phenomenally wealthy. And why would you take the time to do this? And if you were going to do it based on how I believe Obama is wired, he would want to have the credit. I just don't see him being that selfless person to not get out there and get in front of everybody else. I got one name for you that proves you are right. David Plouffe. Plouffe is now the senior advisor to the Kamala campaign. He's not an official campaign member, but he's an advisor. Plouffe is the guy that was behind the navigation for Barack Obama for his 2 reelections.
Yep.
Plouffe knows what he's doing, and he recently outlined in a conversation I saw, he believes there are 7 states now in play since the game has changed from Biden to Kamala. The name David Plouffe being back in the Kamala Harris campaign should scare a few people that felt Donald Trump was headed for a landslide. Plouffe, agree or disagree, knows what he's doing. And to your point, he knows how to send that Barack Obama type message. He knows how that worked the first 2 times. He is going to try to recreate it. So yes, you are absolutely right on this one, my friend.
And I think I appreciate that. And I think Donald Trump had figured out a way to take down Joe Biden.
Yes.
And it was the debate.
Was a strong breeze.
Right.
But
the debate was the icing on the cake. It was, I mean, he just wiped the floor with him, and Joe Biden was done.
I want to give a shout out to you, my friend. You were the very first person the day after the debate that I heard, and I went and I watched people later in the day looking at the time frame. Chronologically, you were the first person I ran across that said, did we just see a campaign implode based on a single debate performance? You were the one the very next morning asking that question before I heard it from everybody else. So you were right there again, and you're right here now.
So here's my question, Bill. You're the type of person that can take themselves out of their own personal beliefs and strategize, even if you disagree with the guy. Which I appreciate. That's how a good debater works. You're the Trump operation. What do you do with this? You're up against the machine that got a relatively unknown, unexperienced, unsuccessful guy into the White House. And the Republicans are coming at you with the same arguments. He hates America. He's out of touch. He has no experience. He's the most liberal senator. I swear I'm back in 2008 hearing that same argument, and it didn't do a dang thing to stop the Obama train. So you're up against the same team facing a similar person. I don't think that Kamala is as talented as Barack, but I'm not sure she has to be, because the machine's so powerful. So you're sitting in the Trump strategy room. You know you can't just attack on policy. You know you're up against a big machine that's going to make her look like a goddess. What do you do? What do you do?
That is such a tough question, because, in my opinion, you are somewhat handicapped based on your candidate. Your candidate does certain things really well, but not other things very well, like staying on message. The idea of, the policy rollout on the economy plan was, it gets into this airing of grievances. What you need to do is you need to have Donald Trump start looking forward. And the question is, hang on, Kamala and her people have been in charge the last number of years. How is their direction going? How is their direction helping your life? And you lean into just a couple of things that she has said, the things like the price controls. That is really, really nice as far as an easily digestible phrase that you explained. Russia controls the prices and how much people can make and how much things are going to charge. And it's a planning the economy. You don't want someone telling you what you can do with your business or anything else, and this is why. And then you lean into one of the big messages that Trump has been very effective at is taking off regulations, is what can happen when you start telling people they can't do something. And that's how he should be framing the regulations. The regulations are burdensome. It is so hard in order to start a new business because we have to do this and this and this. And we talk about construction permits. They deal with them here in Colorado. The life cycle of how long it takes you to get the construction permit approved sometimes then changes how you can build, because sometimes codes have changed, but worse than that, supplies have changed. Sometimes your labor force has changed because other people that have been waiting have gotten other jobs. So that's where you look at it. You have this idea going forward of, we are going to recreate, and again, making America great again. I don't like the far looking back that he's got, but going back to his 4 years and saying, here's how we supercharge the economy, and here's where we are going. And I do disagree with him turning and saying, America is in flames and we're about to have a 1929 crash. We're about to get into World War III, because that's hyperbole. And most voters, I believe, are not going to buy into that. So he needs to buy into the idea of, hey, I'm going to bring us back here, and I'm going to take the stuff that she's screwed up, and I'm going to make it better. This is how I'm going to help you. He needs to point that. He needs to say, I'm going to help you by doing this. Yeah, that's what I tell him to do. I know it's hard.
I'm also concerned that his natural indication or natural
inclination
to attack what would work maybe in a primary, but not in a general. And the reason I bring this up is Barack Obama's birth certificate.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a point of like personal, and Greg Clugston brought this up. That is where it got really personal.
Oh yeah.
For Barack and for Michelle. Okay. So, and on that sense, he was successful. He got under their skin. He got the burr in the saddle. And man, to get to a politician who typically has a very thick skin, to find that thing, that's unique. It didn't stop him from winning. It never stopped Barack Obama from winning. It raised a lot of doubt. Republicans got excited. And if he was maybe in a primary, maybe he could bring him down that way. But it didn't stop Barack Obama from winning. And so I wonder if Donald continues to do these kind of personal attacks like that. I don't know. I'm kind of stuck here, Billy.
Yeah.
I don't know the way forward right now.
And you know what
other than really going after her first 4 years as office as a total failure. And that's the only thing that seems to maybe work.
I think it's almost where you're feeling like Sean Payton coaching the Broncos last year. You have a quarterback that doesn't follow the game plan you feel you need in order to get across the finish line, in order to get the touchdown. You're looking at a certain series of executable plays, but your quarterback likes to go off script and improvise. And in
Tim Tebow, run around a lot.
But the thing for me is that we could just go so much on Tebow because he was used so incorrectly. He could have been a superstar if he was used correctly. But that's part of it, is the team using their Tim Tebow correctly, or are they letting him be Russ? And it's like last year at the Denver Broncos, where Russ ends up creating more problems than he's fixing for the offense. And that's kind of the situation you're in right now. And I'm not sure. I'm going to talk to some other callers. We got some guys lining up to talk to us.
Okay. So I do think there's one wild card in here as you're taking those phone calls and getting them prepped there, Billy. I think if they put Donald Trump in jail, or at least try to, I think you'll see such a visceral reaction from the American people against that. Now, you do have some of the people on the left, and they show up on my Twitter feed. He did the crime. He did the crime. At the gut, basic level of the American voter, they do not want political opponents being put in prison for being political opponents. Now, you can say that Donald Trump did the crime, so now he's got to do the time. But you know down in your core, the only reason they prosecuted him for whatever, misrepresenting ledgers, the only reason they prosecuted him was because he was the Republican nominee for president.
You're right. Alvin Bragg, that was complete crap. He stretched the rules, and there's no way that was a felony. There's no way. That is a misdemeanor with a small fine any day of the week if you're not Donald Trump and you're not running for president. And I do agree with you. I agree with you, and that if they put him in jail, that it becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy. Donald Trump has proven the allegations he's been making, because if you put your political opponent, and again, I'm using the royal you, making the Department of Justice, they put the political opponent in jail before an election, it's exactly what it looks like, and perception becomes reality. It doesn't matter whether or not Donald Trump was convicted of 34 felonies or not. He's behind bars prior to an election. Everyone out there is going to look at this as we've become a banana republic. You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Bill, I'm so excited we got Joe from Arvada. I was so excited that Joe was going to call. We'll get to you in just a second, Joe. If you're considering selling your home, go with the team that's not only going to give you top-level service, but will also help you earn more from the sale of your home than any other agent. Gay Ribble has proven to get more for her sellers because they have ready buyers looking for a home in your area. They don't just make this claim. They can sit down and actually show you their list of over 14,700 buyers. This gives you an immediate advantage. Sure, you can hire any agent to sell your home. You got friends, you got family members, you got neighbors that want to sell your home for you. But isn't it about how much you're going to put in your pocket after closing, how much you're going to get for your family? The Empower Home team specializes in making sure you make the most amount of money. They will sell your home at your price, or Gay will buy it guaranteed. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE as thebuyers.com. Joe, you're up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Joe fixes it next.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I was concerned watching the DNC yesterday that the same team that got a relatively unknown senator, very progressive, kind of leans anti-American to become the president of the United States, is doing the same thing with Kamala Harris now. And my question is simply, how does Donald Trump respond to this? Because I'm afraid the electorate that isn't as smart as our listeners are not going to look at policies, record of success. They're going to go purely on likability, and they're going to Oprah Winfrey Kamala Harris, and they're just going to like her. That's what I think the DNC is driving towards. Joe, Arvada, Jeff and Bill Show. What does Donald Trump do to win?
Yeah.
Hi, Jeff, Billy. This is, to me, so easy, and I'll tell you why. Because what we have been doing, and we've all analyzed Kamala Harris, at least all the conservatives have. I don't think any of the liberals have really analyzed Kamala Harris. When I say any, your general electorate doesn't know who they're voting for. And so what we have to do is a counter strategy. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, okay, let's identify who Kamala Harris is. For one, number one thing, Kamala Harris is a liar. And Kamala doesn't know how to tell the truth. She just flip-flops back and forth, puts her finger in the air, and says, oh, okay, this is what the electorate likes today. I'll say that. And
Joe, do you think one of the strongest points that she is a liar is that she knew of Joe Biden's decline for months, if not years, and specifically lied to the American people about it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many things you could go there. There's 100 different things where you could state the truth that the American public now knows. Like, for instance, inflation is transitory. You could state that and then point out Kamala's position, where she went to, she flip-flopped over, and where she is now. She's a stone cold liar, and we all know it. So that's number one. That's counter strategy number one. She's a liar. She's also a communist. So what we do is we counter communism with patriotism. We show where Kamala, she wants price controls, so does Kathy. So what we do is we show Kamala's strategy of communism, and then we counter it with the truth, patriotism. And what I'm calling it is the Whore of Babylon counter strategy. She also has problems with her knee pad pass, but we don't go there. What we do is we just say, how was your relationship getting aboard with Willie Brown? And you know,
now,
instead
Joe,
of saying,
I'll be honest, Joe, it all just sounds like it's stuff that appeals to conservatives. Help me understand. You reach the suburban housewife who doesn't like the fighting aspect of Donald Trump, and the Democrats know this, so they're bringing in soft, happy. They're good. You notice she doesn't cackle anymore. The soft, happy Kamala, one of your gal pals.
Yeah, and the other one that I would throw in there, Joe, is that it's that because of the allegation, the relationship with Willie Brown so many years ago, there is going to be a segment of persuadable voters that are going to say, you just don't think she can achieve something as a woman. You think she has to sleep her way to the top because a woman can't. That's how they'll interpret that. So what do we do?
Okay, but see, the focus is not on that. I shouldn't have even brought it up. My point is whatever the Kamala current truth segment is, we show where she was a flip-flop before. So let me give you an example. The men and women's races. Kamala is for every transgender item on planet Earth. She wants your kid to become androgynous and become a man or a woman at the drop of a hat through the school system without you knowing. And we show her truth in the past is That's her position. Today, she switched over to, well, let's not talk about that. So my point is, like, for the typical soccer mom, we have to identify the lies that Kamala Harris has just strewn all over the universe. They're everywhere. All you have to do is look. The problem is Google and these Facebooks, they are hiding everything. They don't want you to see who Kamala Harris is.
Joe, I'm not sure this strategy is going to work to the independent suburban housewife mom. I want to lay this strategy out and respond to this. We've only got about a minute left. What if Donald Trump raises the fact that we as a nation face very serious external threats? Russia, China, Iran. And there's nowhere in her past that she has been able to demonstrate that she can take on a threat of that size. Yeah, she's prosecuted people for drug crimes, but she has not been able to, as a leader, take on major threats to this nation and defend America's interests.
No, the truth is that Kamala Harris caused some of the threats. Let's not forget that the Iran strategy has caused the entire Middle East to blow up.
Yeah,
and
I think she just folds. I think she just folds when she faces threats of that magnitude. And I think protecting America from those threats is an issue that could appeal to independent suburban women. All right, look, everyone always, thanks, Joe, for the call. I appreciate it. Everyone always asks, what makes advanced hair restoration different? Allow me to share, along with some details, and get this, their once-a-year summer savings event. First off, Advanced Hair stands by the results, and the before and afters are second to none. With Advanced Hair, your own natural hair is guaranteed to grow. Secondly, Advanced Hair combines top-rated physicians with modern technology, creating a concierge quality experience that's hard to find elsewhere. Finally, Advanced Hair's Advance, FUE, begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day. It's quick, it's simple, and it's easy. Now, if you have a flexible schedule this summer, and this deal, believe me, it ends here soon, September 1st. You've been waiting for that special savings opportunity. It's here. Advanced Hair Summer Savings Event will get you the most hair for your dollar. It's their best offer ever. For details and to schedule your free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. Your new hair guaranteed to grow. Before and afters are advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's been an absolutely fantastic conversation about what's been happening here at the Democrat National Convention. We are covering it both inside and outside. Last night, Barack and Michelle Obama. Tonight, Bill Clinton, Tim Walz, Nancy Pelosi. We are providing all the coverage that you need for the Democrat National Convention, so stick with us. We'll see what happens tonight on the protests. I was downtown last night outside the Israeli consulate when protesters were arrested. We'll be monitoring that. We have sources that are keeping us up to date on what's happening with Chicago. So really some great coverage for you all. You're going to want to stick with 710 KNUS through all this. Bill, to just wrap a bow on our conversation this last hour, I go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Oh, yeah.
As a marketer, that when you get to people's core concerns, you can actually reach them with a good and important message. And talking about how Donald Trump needs to respond to Kamala Harris, I really believe that core desire to feel safe and secure is the one that Donald Trump can perform better at with regards to national threats, international threats, China, Russia, Iran. And so as his response to Kamala Harris in all this, when they're going to Oprah Winfrey her and make her look like fun-loving, happy, all that stuff. Okay, we like that. We like a leader that's fun and positive and optimistic. But at the end of the day, I need to make sure that we are safe.
I think you've got something there, especially if you wrap in the immigration problem at the southern border and you tie it into those dangerous countries and say, we don't know how many of them have snuck in. Yeah, you got something there.
And we can, and the Republicans can lead to make sure you and your family are safe. All right, we'll continue all this and more. 710knus.com for the podcast. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a good day.